Chapter 3264. How dare you sneak into my territory? You are digging your own graves. Just as Jialin had made up his mind to fight, the Baron war halberd had already drawn a ray of light in the dark trench and attacked them. It still looked like a war halberd, but it was thousands of times bigger than a normal war halberd. It looked like a huge battleship as it blasted over at high speed. In comparison, Night Sorrow and Jialin looked much smaller. Heaven-suppressing lock. Jialin knew that he could not defend against the Baron war halberd alone. He immediately summoned the heaven-suppressing lock and used it to attack. Divine Spear. Night Sorrow, who was also facing the Baron war halberd, used the 9 steps of heaven defying and used the Divine Spear at the same time. Although the Baron war halberd's attack was powerful, its speed was not much faster than his. He could still use the 9 steps of heaven defying to dodge it when he activated the Treastrimsa battle secret technique. At the same time, he used the Divine Spear to test the strength of the Baron war halberd. Then, the Divine Spear and the heaven-suppressing lock hit the Baron war halberd at the same time. Night Sorrow's Divine Spear did not cause any damage to the Baron war halberd. However, the heaven-suppressing lock hit the Baron war halberd and sent it flying. However, after the Baron war halberd was sent flying, it was not damaged. On the other hand, the heaven-suppressing lock suffered a heavy backlash. Obviously, the Baron war halberd was stronger than the heaven-suppressing lock. This Baron war halberd is very strong, Jialin said as he felt the backlash from the heaven-suppressing lock. Night Sorrow said in a low voice, I can feel its strength. However, if it only knows how to charge around recklessly, then there is nothing to be afraid of. I'm afraid it will only charge around recklessly and bring us a lot of trouble. Jialin suddenly said, Oh right. The green chessboard might be able to help us. Oh. Have you figured out how to use it? Night Sorrow asked curiously. I can only use it for simple attacks. After Jialin finished speaking, he took out the green chessboard and used it to attack. Jialin had said that it could only be used for simple attacks, but when the green chessboard was activated, it immediately projected a chessboard world. The enormous chessboard unfurled and directly sucked in the Desolation war halberd, Night Sorrow, and Jialin. The aura of the Desolate war halberd was instantly suppressed by 20 to 30%. The dark green chessboard was actually obtained by you 2 ants. It seems like the chess saint has been killed by you. The Desolate war halberd said coldly after being projected into the chessboard world. It was as if he was making a judgment. You guys have helped me do something that I wanted to do but was unable to do. Now he could peacefully become an evil spirit and guard the deathly still ocean. Silent blood slash. Then, the Desolate war halberd released an incomparably dazzling red light. Be careful. This light is not simple. When the Desolate war halberd released its red glow, Jialin reminded. But at this time, the Desolate war halberd's main target was not Night Sorrow but Jialin. At the same time, she used the ability of the green chessboard to project herself to another position. This feeling was similar to Night Sorrow's when he had been in the Starshift Great Array. However, Jialin could only use the green chessboard to transfer himself, and could not care about anything else. After Jialin was transferred away, the Desolate war halberd immediately returned the target to Night Sorrow. After the red light circled around the chessboard world, it abruptly attacked Yishan's position. Little 5. Use the Absorption Horns attack. Facing the attack of the Desolate war halberd, Night Sorrow immediately transmitted his voice to Little 5, asking him to use the attack. Hearing this, Little 5 immediately replied, But this attack is only 50% charged. It's not powerful enough. No worries. Just use it. Night Sorrow knew that the Eternal Divine Tower had not charged a complete attack, and said without hesitation. Okay. Although he did not know what Night Sorrow meant by this, he still followed Little 5's instructions. Little 5 still followed his instructions and blasted out the attack. Boom. Although the Eternal Divine Tower only charged 50% of its power, it still managed to block the red glow from the Desolate war halberd. This was because the red glow released by the Desolate war halberd was not a full-powered attack. Facing Night Sorrow and Jialin, it felt that it did not need to use its full power. He managed to block the attack. But if it continues to attack, what should we do? Seeing that Night Sorrow had blocked the attack of the desolate war halberd, Jielin immediately frowned. All of her means, including the heaven suppression lock, were unable to do anything to the desolate war halberd. She was at a loss. I will do my best to resist it. Find an opportunity to cooperate with me, Night Sorrow said confidently. He could feel that the desolate war halberd was not simple, but now that he had become a heavenly sovereign, with the help of various means, he might have a chance. How arrogant. You are just a lower heavenly sovereign, and you want to fight me? Die. Hearing Night Sorrow's words, the desolate war halberd was immediately enraged. Once again, it released an even fiercer red glow. This time, the red glow was almost solid, and it was obviously more powerful than the previous attack. Jielin. I will use the Jielin bloodline. As the red glow attacked, Night Sorrow sent a voice transmission to Jielin. Upon hearing this, Jielin said, "This is a matter of life and death. Let's not be calculative. If you can restrain it, I might be able to use the green chessboard to deal a fatal blow to it. That should be enough." With that, Night Sorrow unleashed Armageddon and activated his Phoenix bloodline and Jielin bloodline. He burned his bloodline power to the extreme. When he was at his peak, Night Sorrow immediately attacked the ferocious red glow with a combination of more than 20 words. He also cast the Divine Origin Trapping Array to reduce the speed of the red glow. In this state, he easily used the 9 heaven-defying steps to dodge the desolate war halberd's attack. You have some skills, but you can't change the fact that you are going to become an evil spirit. After being dodged, the desolate war halberd roared in the voice of a soul beast and shrunk the spear. When it was about the same size as the golden heavenly halberd, it attacked Night Sorrow like an arrow leaving the bow. When it was close to Night Sorrow, the desolate war halberd suddenly split into 18 halberds. Together, they sealed off all the directions that Night Sorrow could dodge. Deliberately mystifying. Facing the desolate war halberd's blockade, Night Sorrow, who had activated the Sea Serpent's Eye, immediately saw that among the 18 halberds, only 3 of them were real. The blockade of these 3 halberds could not be compared to the all-round blockade of 18 halberds. He immediately used the 9 heaven-defying steps to dodge. Impossible. You are just an ant. How can you see through my attack? The desolate war halberd roared in disbelief as Night Sorrow dodged the attack again. Chapter 3265. Good job, Night Demon. As long as you can hold him back for another 30 breaths, I can use the green chessboard to unleash a powerful attack. Jielin sent a telepathic message to Night Sorrow, while the desolate war halberd was in disbelief. She did not expect that Night Sorrow would be able to dodge the attack after the desolate war halberd had used all his strength. Night Sorrow said, "Lend me your heaven-suppressing lock. My golden heavenly halberd and eternal divine tower should not be able to hurt it." Alright. Accept the lock. Although she knew that lending the heaven-suppressing lock to Night Sorrow might damage it, she did not want to risk it. At this moment of life and death, Jielin did not have time to think about it. She immediately sent the heaven-suppressing lock to Night Sorrow. How dare you pass me a divine artifact so brazenly in front of me? At this moment, the desolate war halberd suddenly attacked the heaven-suppressing lock. Obviously, he did not want Night Sorrow to successfully receive it. A divine artifact is a divine artifact. Its thinking is limited. When the desolate war halberd attacked the heaven-suppressing lock, it wanted to shatter it. Night Sorrow suddenly took out the ancient coffin from the infinite space. He used the 9 steps of heaven-defying, and controlled the ancient coffin to smash the desolate war halberd. The desolate war halberd, who was attacking the heaven-suppressing lock, did not expect Night Sorrow to be able to take out something even stronger than the heaven-suppressing lock. In a moment of carelessness, it was hit by the ancient coffin. After the ancient coffin hit the desolate war halberd, it immediately made a loud noise. After being hit by the ancient coffin, the desolate war halberd almost broke. The outer defensive layer of the ancient coffin had almost disappeared, leaving only a thin layer. It looked like it would break soon. After that, Night Sorrow thought to himself, looks like the ancient coffin can only be used as a last resort. Otherwise, it might bring about a huge change. Night Demon, take the heaven-suppressing lock and continue to attack it. I'll be done soon. Jialin, who saw Night Sorrow injuring the desolate war halberd, reminded him. All right. Night Sorrow nodded and took the heaven-suppressing lock. Using it as a melee weapon, he smashed the Desolation war halberd. Bastard! What's going on with that coffin? At this moment, the Desolation war halberd was being smashed by the heaven-suppressing lock, but it didn't take much effort to block it. Its injuries were mainly caused by the ancient coffin. It was also the corrosive aura of the ancient coffin that made it very uncomfortable and unable to organize a counterattack. Under Night Sorrow's Armageddon state, complacency had been suppressing him. I'm fine. Night Demon, retreat. Another 20 breaths passed. Jialin suddenly transmitted her voice to Night Sorrow. Then, she used the green chessboard to condense a sun-like fireball in the void. He struck a terrifying blow against the Desolation war halberd. This is the ultimate secret skill of the green chessboard. When the sun-like fireball approached, the Desolation war halberd immediately saw that it was a chess piece formed by the green chessboard. In the face of this attack, it immediately unleashed the strongest secret technique of the halberd, Desolate World. In an instant, the two attacks collided. After the loud collision, Night Sorrow and Jialin both realized that the Desolation war halberd's aura had weakened by a lot. Night Sorrow, who had used Armageddon and activated Jialin's bloodline and Phoenix's bloodline, should have been able to contend with it. Now he had the upper hand in the battle against the Desolation war halberd. After being completely suppressed by Night Sorrow, the Desolation war halberd suddenly said, "Don't destroy me. I choose to submit." Submit? The Desolation war halberd's reaction surprised Night Sorrow. Don't believe it. Destroy it, and we will go to the Temple of Creation immediately. Jialin said in disbelief when he heard that the Desolation war halberd wanted to submit. At this time, the Desolation war halberd continued. Your divine weapon is also a war halberd. Subdue me. When I recover, I will definitely increase your strength by a lot. If you really choose to submit, then swear an oath of eternal loyalty. Otherwise, I will destroy you on the spot. Night Sorrow used the sea serpent's eye to observe the Desolation war halberd in case it suddenly attacked. However, the Desolation war halberd did not hesitate at all, and immediately swore an oath of loyalty to Night Sorrow. Night Demon. Don't believe him. A half-step paramount divine weapon might have the ability to cheat on an oath of the heavens. Jialin reminded him again when she saw the Desolation war halberd swear an oath. This wasn't because she was jealous of Yishang's possession of a half-step paramount realm divine artifact, but because she had heard of half-step paramount realm divine artifacts and paramount realm divine artifacts from Vice Dean Ji Xian. Hearing this, Night Sorrow smiled and said, "It's okay. There should be no divine weapon in this world that I can't subdue." After saying that, he summoned the disguised power of merit and cleansed the Desolation war halberd completely. The Desolation war halberd, who had been disloyal, immediately said respectfully after being purified, "Thank you, Master. I swear to serve Master until death." Good. Very good. In the future, you will follow me into battle. Night Sorrow held the Desolation war halberd in his hand and compared it with the golden heavenly halberd. In the end, the two did not merge into one, because if they merged together, the golden heavenly halberd might be upgraded to half-step paramount grade. However, the upgraded grade should not be as good as the Desolation war halberd after it recovered. Moreover, the golden heavenly halberd was not far from half-step paramount grade. He could find other half-step paramount grade materials to upgrade it. When Jialin saw Night Sorrow easily purify the Desolation war halberd, she exclaimed in admiration. He immediately exclaimed in admiration, "This method of yours is simply miraculous. Let's go to the Temple of Creation." At this moment, Night Sorrow shook his head and said, "No hurry. There are still good things under this trench." After saying that, he led Jialin towards the trench. Not long after, he found the Desolation war halberd's nest in the cave where it was furnished. Night Sorrow found more than 10 sovereign heavenly yuan pills, and a large amount of other resources. After distributing the sovereign heavenly yuan pills, Night Sorrow looked at Su Lei and said, "You should also try to become an upper heavenly supreme. Later, we can consolidate our cultivation together." Okay. Thank you. Su Lei thanked him and entered the Eternal Divine Tower to consume the sovereign heavenly yuan pills. As for Yi Shang, he let the Eternal Divine Tower absorb the 4 sovereign heavenly origin pills he had been given to recover. After doing all this, he looked at Jialin and said, "With desolation leading the way, we can move around freely in the dead silent sea. Let's start looking for the entrance to the Temple of Creation." Okay. Your eye technique is powerful. You should lead the way. I just used the green chessboard and consumed a lot of energy. I also want to enter the Eternal Divine Tower to recover, Jialin said and entered the Eternal Divine Tower. After consuming a few pills, Night Sorrow recovered a little and started looking for the entrance to the Temple of Creation. With Desolation's help, he quickly found the location of the entrance to the Temple of Creation. However, there was an extremely powerful formation set up around the entrance of the Temple of Creation. Chapter 3266. Night Demon. Although I've dabbled in array formations, I have no clue about the array formation in front of us. Can you crack it? Jialin stood in front of the array formation and observed for a while before asking. The array formation that sealed the entrance of the Temple of Creation looked peaceful, and the surroundings were as warm as a spring breeze. However, everyone present could see that this was only on the surface. If they chose to force their way in, they would definitely be attacked fiercely. Even the desolate war halberd should not have the ability to force his way in. After Jialin asked, Night Sorrow used the sea serpent's eye to observe for a while and said, "I don't think I can do it. I need my friend to try." Then he summoned the restriction-breaking hammer and let them see if they could find a way to break the array formation. The restriction-breaking hammer was summoned and observed for a while. The hammer said, "This array formation seems to be the 10,000 spirits blood demon array. If it is, it will require a large amount of blood to break it. It should be very difficult for us to find blood here." Night Sorrow looked at the array formation and said slowly, "I'm afraid that Baron Thorn Heavenly Supremacy, Seeming Heavenly Supremacy, and the others have already appeared on our way back. Therefore, the teleportation array in the Temple of Creation is the only way for us to leave safely. This array formation must be broken no matter what." At this moment, Jialin frowned and said in a low voice, "Why don't we use our blood to break the array formation?" "I'm afraid it's not possible to use your blood to break the array formation. The quantity is simply not enough. This array formation requires a shocking amount of blood. Even if the 4 of you use up all your blood, you won't be able to break it." The male hammer of the restriction-breaking hammer immediately denied. At this moment, the desolate war halberd said, "It's not easy to get other things, but if you need blood, you can have as much as you want. I'll break this array formation." "Oh, you have a way?" Hearing this, Jialin immediately locked his gaze on the desolate war halberd, who had transformed into a human. "Of course. No matter what, I'm the ruler of the dead silent sea. Although I'm only ruling over some evil spirits, they still have blood in them," the desolate war halberd said, then looked at Night Sorrow and said, "Master, please allow me to make a move." Try it." Night Sorrow looked at the desolate war halberd and said. Then, the desolation war halberd started to summon all kinds of evil spirits under the gazes of Night Sorrow, Jialin, and Dancing Woman. Let them offer their blood to the formation. The deathly silent sea was almost boundless. The types and numbers of evil spirits were extremely large. Under the unceasing sacrifice of these evil spirits, Yi Zichen's eyes lit up. The runes of the formation started to be filled with the color of blood bit by bit, and gradually emitted a blood-red glow. After they dyed the formation lines red with their blood, the entrance to the Temple of Creation opened with a loud rumble. Done. This is indeed the 10,000 spirits blood fiend formation. Seeing the Temple of Fortune's entrance open, Xiong Chui exclaimed excitedly. In fact, he and Female Hammer were just guessing. They didn't expect that they would be right. "Night Demon, you have gathered all kinds of geniuses around you. This proves that you are a person with great luck. Let's go." After searching for some resources in the Temple of Creation, we will head to the location of the transportation array and leave this ancient site. Jialin's face lit up when he saw the entrance to the Temple of Creation open. Good. Let's go in. Are you sure what the great fortuitous opportunity in the Temple of Creation is? Night Sorrow asked as they walked into the Temple of Creation. Teacher Ji Xian once said that the Temple of Creation is very mysterious. On the surface, the great fortuitous opportunity is a divine artifact, but in reality, the greatest fortuitous opportunity is a creation. As for what it is exactly, I can't say for sure. Jielin didn't hide anything and directly said it. Creation. Let's look for it properly. Also, this Temple of Creation seems a little strange. Let's pay attention. After entering the Temple of Creation, Night Sorrow felt that the surroundings were filled with the smell of blood. Although it didn't make him feel uncomfortable, he felt that something was wrong. Yes, everyone must be careful. Teacher didn't explain the dangers here in detail. We can only take one step at a time. Jielin also instructed. At this time, Night Sorrow and Dancing Woman both activated their eye techniques. One was in charge of observing the path ahead, and the other was in charge of guarding the back. They were very alert. In this state, they walked for about 2 hours, but no creatures noticed them. However, the smell of blood became thicker and thicker, making one feel very uncomfortable when smelling it. Why does the smell of blood give me a familiar feeling? At this time, the desolate war halberd, who hadn't spoken for a long time, frowned and said. After he said that, Night Sorrow agreed. I also feel that this smell of blood is very familiar. In the smell of blood, there is a trace of a faint stench. This should be the smell of the blood of those evil spirits just now. Dancing Woman thought for a moment and deduced. Yes. It seems to be the blood of those evil spirits. Didn't we use that blood to break the array? How did it get here? When Jielin heard Dancing Woman's words, he also reacted. Currently, I can't guess what's going on. But no matter what, we have to be careful. After Night Sorrow said that, he led the group and continued to move forward in the quiet Temple of Creation. At this moment, Sule suddenly said, Everyone, I'm sorry. I've broken through, and the heavenly tribulation will follow. It's a little dangerous to undergo the tribulation here. Let's not talk about whether Huang Ji and Si Ming will come. The Temple of Creation was probably not as calm as it seemed on the surface. Why don't we go directly to the teleportation array and leave this place? Let Sule safely pass the tribulation? Hearing Sule's words, Jielin immediately said. All right. Night Sorrow was a little surprised that Jielin could give up looking for fortune in the Temple of Creation. However, he also agreed and continued. Then let's leave immediately. I feel that this Temple of Creation is not simple. Yes. I feel a little nervous. Jielin said without hiding anything. This was also one of the important reasons why she decided to leave immediately. Follow me. Night Sorrow said and led the group forward according to the instructions on the map. However, when they arrived at the teleportation array, they were shocked. There were hundreds of dried corpses around the teleportation array. These dried corpses were originally standing on the spot, but as the smell of blood spread, the blood of the evil spirits that they used to break the array began to enter the bodies of these dried corpses little by little. The dried corpses of the upper heavenly sovereigns in front of them began to wake up one by one. Let's kill our way out. More and more dried corpses woke up. Before long, 4 or 5 of them woke up. Night Sorrow made a prompt decision. Chapter 3267. Translator, Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. These dried corpses looked like human-shaped cultivators that had been dried by the wind. Even if they were awakened by blood, their appearance did not change. They gave off a feeling that they were more ferocious than evil spirits. At this moment, the lightning tribulation that Sule had attracted appeared uncontrollably. After the lightning tribulation appeared, the mummy that had just woken up immediately retreated a little. Night Sorrow, who had been preparing to attack, noticed this. He looked at Sule and said, Sule, let's charge through the lightning tribulation. Okay. I also noticed that these corpses seem to be afraid of the lightning tribulation. Sule replied and walked in front, leading Night Sorrow and the rest towards the teleportation formation. Seeing the lightning tribulation approaching, the awakened corpses retreated bit by bit. Seeing this, Jielin suggested, Since Sulei's lightning tribulation body will not descend immediately, why don't we stay and explore? After all, although the corpses here are powerful, they are afraid of the lightning tribulation, and do not dare to get close to us. Just now, they had been following the instructions on the map, and escaping towards the teleportation formation. They had not searched the Temple of Creation. Hearing this, Sule looked at everyone and said, "My lightning tribulation body will be completely formed in a day. If we stay, it's best to leave within a day. Let's see what the night demon wants." Jialin and Sule obviously wanted to stay. At this moment, Swaying Woman spoke. Then the three women locked their gazes on his face. Yishang immediately understood what they meant when they looked at him like this. The three women all wanted to stay and search for opportunities. He thought for a while and said, "It's not impossible to stay. But now our condition is worse than the last. If we encounter Baron Thorn and Si Ming, we will not be able to fight. We will go back to the entrance and set up the formation. If they break the formation, we will leave immediately. No matter how good the opportunity is, we will have to give up. Can you do that?" The four people in front of him, including the Baron War Halberd, Eternal Divine Tower, and Heaven Suppressing Lock, were not in a good condition. If they fought, they would definitely not be able to. "You're right. Let's not waste time. Let's set up the formation immediately." After getting Night Sorrow's affirmation, Jialin looked at the corpses that were keeping their distance. "Let's go. I'll lead the way," Night Sorrow said and walked in front again. He rushed to the entrance and set up the Five Bulls formation. Jialin and Whirling Woman also set up the array formation. Then they followed the instructions on the map and entered the central hall of the Temple of Creation. Although the central hall was called a hall, it was actually extremely vast. Even Night Sorrow, who had activated the Sea Serpent's Eye, couldn't see the end at a glance. At this moment, 9 dragons and 9 phoenixes were soaring in the sky above the hall. On the ground, there were mountains and lakes. In the middle of the lake, there was a very small temple. At this moment, the sound of chanting could be heard coming from the temple. Whirling Woman observed with her eye technique and said, "These 9 dragons and phoenixes are all puppets. They don't seem to have any intention of attacking us. If there was a fortune here, it should be in that small temple, right? Shall we go and take a look? There really isn't much in the hall before us. Let's go take a look." Night Sorrow used the Sea Serpent's Eye to observe and found that there were no birds or beasts on the mountain or fish in the lake. Thus he agreed. As for the small temple in front of him, he couldn't see through it at all with the Sea Serpent's Eye. While leading the way, he said, "You'd better keep a certain distance from me. This small temple gives people a very strange feeling." "Okay. Be careful." The 3 women followed behind Night Sorrow side by side. Jialin said while observing. Whirling Woman and Sule followed silently behind Night Sorrow. "I'll go in and take a look. Wait for me here." Night Sorrow walked to the small temple. Around the small temple, a circle of courtyard walls rose from the ground. He walked up to the door and knocked. As soon as he knocked on the door, the chanting stopped immediately. However, no one responded to Night Sorrow. He looked back at the 3 women and pushed the door in front of him open. The vermilion wooden door was pushed open, and a creaking sound could be heard. After the door opened, Night Sorrow found that the small temple in front of him didn't have a door, but he couldn't see anything inside. He thought for a moment and walked directly to the small temple without hesitation. Just as Night Sorrow was about to enter the small temple, a voice suddenly said from behind, "Benefactor, are you sure you want to go in?" "Who is it?" Night Sorrow heard the voice and immediately looked back. He found that the person who spoke was an old wolf in a Taoist robe. This old wolf was standing in human form. It even used its 2 front paws to bow to Night Sorrow. "Are you the owner of this small temple?" Night Sorrow asked after observing the old wolf in front of him with the Sea Serpent's Eye. "No, I'm just in charge of guarding this courtyard," the old wolf replied politely and then said, "At the same time, I'm also staying here to remind you." "Remind me of what?" Night Sorrow asked in confusion. "To remind you that you can enter this small temple, but you may not be able to leave. Since ancient times, no one has walked out of this small temple for countless years." The old wolf clasped its paws together, looking as if it was speaking earnestly. Night Sorrow looked at the old wolf and said, "What's so special about this small temple? I've never entered before, and I don't know what's inside. If there's anything special, it's that no one who enters has ever come out," the old wolf said and added, "At the very least, I've never seen anyone come out." "All right, then I'll be the first to come out," Night Sorrow said again. Without waiting for the old wolf to continue, he walked into the small temple without hesitation. Looking at the place where Night Sorrow disappeared, the old wolf muttered, "Stubborn." After Night Sorrow walked into the small temple, he discovered that it was a small world. This small world wasn't big. It was about the size of 100 square kilometers. In the middle of the small world was a platform that was 100,000 feet tall. On the platform was a pitch-black ancient coffin. "Why does this ancient coffin look similar to the one in my hands?" Night Sorrow was shocked when he saw the appearance of the ancient coffin. The ancient coffin on the platform looked exactly the same as the one in his hands. Just as Night Sorrow was surprised, a voice sounded from the ancient coffin. "You're here?" "I'm here? What do you mean?" Night Sorrow looked at the ancient coffin with a frown. "Night Sorrow, this is your coffin. You'll be buried in it in the future. Since you're here, take it with you. I'll return it to you." As soon as the words left his mouth, a cultivator lifted the lid of the coffin and walked out. "Who are you?" Night Sorrow used the sea serpent's eye to check the coffin and realized that the cultivator was neither a corpse nor an evil spirit. Instead, it was a living cultivator who asked immediately. Chapter 3268. It doesn't matter who I am. You just have to remember to get someone to bury you in this coffin after you die. However, this coffin isn't that easy to obtain. You have to pass the test. The male cultivator who climbed out of the coffin glanced at Night Sorrow and said with a smile. Then he strolled into the void. "Don't go. Tell me what's going on." Night Sorrow shouted in displeasure as he looked at the man who was ascending. The other party said that the coffin in front of him belonged to him, and that he would die. Anyone in his position would feel uncomfortable. It's up to you whether you believe me or not. With that, the male cultivator disappeared into the void. Night Sorrow, who was sizing up the ancient coffin again, harumphed coldly, deliberately mystifying. This should be something that everyone who enters this place will experience. Die. Right then, a female cultivator with a sword stuck in her head crawled out of the ancient coffin. The female cultivator had an extremely menacing expression and two fangs. After climbing out of the ancient coffin, she flew down the platform and pounced towards Night Sorrow. When she was 1,000 feet away from Night Sorrow, she pulled out the sword from her head and stabbed out. It's a half-step Supreme Realm Divine weapon. After observing with the sea serpent's eye, Night Sorrow discovered that the sword in the other party's hand was a half-step Supreme Realm Divine weapon. He was surprised. However, he naturally would not sit still and wait for death. He summoned the desolate war halberd and held it in his hand to resist. Boom, boom, boom. The menacing female cultivator's attack seemed slow. However, Night Sorrow began to block it. In an instant, she stabbed dozens of times. Night Sorrow had to channel the Treastrimsa Heaven's secret technique to block all the attacks. After a series of dozens of explosions, the menacing female cultivator took some blood from the wound on her head and smeared it on her sword. After absorbing the blood, the sword turned blood red. "Watch out. She's offering a sacrifice," the desolate war halberd warned immediately when it saw the situation. "It's fine. After all, we have more tricks up our sleeve." After saying Night Sorrow, he suddenly began to prepare the word formula. When the female cultivator attacked again, he immediately struck out a total of 33 characters. However, after these words flew out, the female cultivator madly swung the sword in her hand, cutting all of them apart. Seeing the 33 words in front of him, all of them would be shattered. Yi Shang's brows instantly knit together, and he said, "Looks like she's even stronger than I imagined. Eternal Divine Tower, come out. Cooperate with me. I'm going to suck this she-devil and her sword into the Eternal Divine Tower." Little Five said after the Eternal Divine Tower was summoned. Right now, the Eternal Divine Tower was basically under his control. Hearing this, Night Sorrow was puzzled. How should we cooperate with you? It's simple. Let's beat him until he can't fight back. After Little Five finished speaking, he suddenly charged towards the female cultivator in front of him. Seeing the Eternal Divine Tower approach, a hint of hatred immediately flashed through the female cultivator's murky eyes. She waved the sword in her hand and slashed towards the Eternal Divine Tower. She's attacking me with her sword. Here's your chance, Night Sorrow. Attack her. When Little Five saw the female cultivator attacking the Eternal Divine Tower, he immediately activated the defensive layer of the Eternal Divine Tower to block. All right. Night Sorrow replied and sent a voice transmission to the Desolate War Halberd. Cooperate with me fully. Then he fired a divine spear at the female cultivator. With the enhancement of this move, the Desolate War Halberd, which was originally a half-step to the extreme realm, immediately struck out with an extremely ferocious attack. When she saw Night Sorrow's attack, the female cultivator who wanted to cut the Eternal Divine Tower immediately retracted her attack. Using a ghostly movement technique, she dodged the Desolate War Halberd's attack and attacked Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow, watch out! Seeing the female cultivator attacking Night Sorrow, Little Five reminded and controlled the tower to crash towards the female cultivator. Night Sorrow, on the other hand, cast the Merit Trap Array at the female cultivator. He guessed that the female cultivator was also afraid of the power of merit, so she did not choose to cast the Divine Essence Trap Array. Kill. 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 Trapped in the Merit Trap Array, the female cultivator immediately roared like a madwoman. Then, her aura suddenly advanced from the peak of the upper heavenly supreme to the half-step to the extreme realm. After raising her cultivation to the half-step to the extreme realm, the female cultivator's aura instantly became much stronger. The sword in her hand also emitted a shocking bloody light in an instant. The merit trapping formation was actually slashed open by his sword in an instant. What a ferocious demoness. She should be at least a half-step to the extreme realm. Little Five immediately judged when he saw how ferocious the female cultivator was. Hearing this, the Desolate War Halberd said in annoyance, "Anyone can see that. What's the use of saying all this? It's indeed useless." Night Sorrow also said and used the Supreme Dragon subduing technique to summon the Kuanpung. Now that he had advanced to the Heavenly Supreme level, the Kuanpung he summoned had also become stronger. After it appeared, it grabbed at the frenzied female cultivator. Kill. Seeing the Kuanpung attacking her, the female cultivator who had fallen into madness roared and went against the heavens, slashing at the Kuanpung. I think her weakness should be her head. After all, her wound is there. After using the Kuanpung to restrain the female cultivator, Night Sorrow channeled the gentle dragon roar. This time, he channeled the power of the Azure Sea into the gentle dragon roar. After roaring, the female cultivator who was about to kill the Kuanpung with her sword immediately fell from midair. She hugged her head and wailed. Her weakness is really here. Little Five, do it. After the female cultivator wailed, the wound on her head kept bleeding. Night Sorrow immediately reminded Little Five. I didn't expect that she would be dealt with so suddenly. I didn't react in time. After hearing Night Sorrow's reminder, Little Five reacted and hurriedly controlled the Eternal Divine Tower to suck the female cultivator and the long sword into it. After doing all this, he transmitted his voice to Night Sorrow. Wait for the Eternal Divine Tower to convert the female cultivator and the long sword into energy. Not only can it channel no less than 10 attacks, but it can also help you advance to a Middle Heavenly Supreme. Okay, I'll go up and take a look at the ancient coffin. You and Desolate Silence wait for me below. Although Night Sorrow also felt that the female cultivator was subdued a little too easily, he didn't dwell on it too much. He flew straight into the void and towards the top of the high platform. When he flew near the ancient coffin, he immediately looked inside, but found that there was nothing in the ancient coffin. Moreover, the ancient coffin was only made of sycamore wood. Although it looked similar to the ancient coffin in the space, it was obviously extremely ordinary. After opening the sea serpent's eye and observing for a while, Night Sorrow didn't see anything. He casually kept it in the space. He said, "It's just an extremely ordinary coffin. I thought it was some amazing treasure that had to go through a test." Desolate Silence said disdainfully when he heard Night Sorrow say that it was just an ordinary item. At this moment Little Five asked, "Since we have the ancient coffin, shouldn't we leave this place? How can we get out?" Chapter 3269. This small space is only so big. It shouldn't be difficult to find a way out. Let's investigate carefully. After Little Five finished speaking, Night Sorrow swallowed a few recovery pills. While recovering his essence energy, he began to search for the exit. He originally thought that there were opportunities in this small world. However, there was only one coffin. This was somewhat different from what he had imagined. Let's go out and observe. Night Sorrow observed for a while, but did not discover anything. At this moment, the male hammer of the restriction-breaking hammer suddenly sent a voice transmission. "All right, come out and take a look. See if you can find any clues." Night Sorrow investigated, and discovered that there was nothing in front of him apart from the high platform. After summoning the restriction-breaking hammer, he looked up at the void. Back then, that male cultivator had soared up from the void and disappeared into the horizon. He was thinking that if the restriction-breaking hammer could not find anything, he would fly in the direction of the void and see where he could go. After the restriction-breaking hammer came out, it began to search for array patterns in the space. However, after investigating for a while, it was the same as Night Sorrow. It did not find any clues at all. The male hammer was a little dejected. "Looks like it's really difficult to get out of here." "It's okay. Didn't that male cultivator fly away from the void? Let's fly towards the void and see what we can find." There was really nothing below. After saying that, Night Sorrow put away the restriction-breaking hammer and the desolate war halberd. He soared up and kept flying towards the void. After flying for about 6 hours, suddenly, they saw a floating palace appear in the sky. This palace floated above the clouds and was surrounded by dense fog. Night Sorrow opened the sea serpent's eye and observed for a while. He actually could not see through the fog. He sent a voice transmission. "I can't see through this palace. There should be a way. Let's go in and take a look." If we don't go in, we won't be able to find the way back. Let's go in and try our luck. According to what that old wolf said, it's definitely not that easy to get out of here." The desolate war halberd agreed and continued. "You should just summon me out. No matter what, I'm still a half-step Supreme Realm Divine Artifact. I'll be of great help to you." As a divine artifact, Night Sorrow had put it into his space grotto heaven out of consideration for his safety. He felt a little embarrassed. "Good. Then come out," Night Sorrow said and summoned the Desolation War Halberd. Holding it in his hand, he flew towards the palace in the void. When he got closer, he saw the plaque hanging on the lintel of the palace. There were 3 large words engraved on it. "Northern Heaven Gate." Northern Heavenly Gate? Does it mean we're at the end of the day? "You sure talk big," the desolate war halberd said in disdain when he saw the plaque of the Northern Heaven Gate. "As for what it means, we'll know once we enter." After saying this, Night Sorrow released his divine domain and walked towards the Northern Heavenly Gate. "Who dares to offend my Tianyu?" However, just as he was about to reach the Northern Heaven Gate, a cold and indifferent voice suddenly scolded. Then, a bearded man in silver armor suddenly flew out from the plaque. "I'm looking for a way out of this world. Please do me a favor." It was better to meet someone than to fly around aimlessly. Night Sorrow looked at him and realized that the bearded man had the strength of an upper heavenly sovereign. Moreover, he should be considered a powerhouse among the upper heavenly sovereigns. His aura was very powerful. "You want to ask me for directions? It's very simple. Just defeat me." The bearded man in silver armor, Ming Ming, roared and released his divine domain. He then took out a battle axe and slashed it at Night Sorrow. "I'll defeat you." "Very well." Seeing that Ming Ming was about to attack, Night Sorrow immediately waved the Desolation War Halberd to block it. Boom. Although Ming Ming was powerful, his battle axe was only at the level of a heavenly sovereign. Under the attack of the Desolation War Halberd, it was immediately shattered. "No, you're relying on the power of a divine artifact. What kind of ability is that? Let's have a fair fight." Ming Ming roared in dissatisfaction when his battle axe was shattered. Hearing this, the Desolation War Halberd said unhappily, "You big bearded man, find a powerful divine artifact if you can. You don't have to say anything, Desolation. Go back to the space cave. I'm confident in dealing with him." Night Sorrow said and put away the Desolation War Halberd again. He then fought with Meng Ming barehanded. Seeing that Night Sorrow had really put away his divine artifact, Meng Ming laughed and said, "You're quite straightforward. Do you dare to fight me in close combat?" "Why not?" Night Sorrow replied and activated the Treastrimsa battle mystic technique. When Meng Hong attacked him, he immediately used the word formula of the 100 words mantra. He used the 33-word mantra continuously to suppress Meng Ming and increase his strength. He quickly suppressed Meng Ming. Good move. However, it's all in vain. I, Meng Ming, am invincible in close combat. After fighting for a while, Meng Ming roared and suddenly transformed his body into a wolf head and a human body. His hands also turned into claws. His attack power became much stronger. Facing Meng Ming, who had transformed into a wolf head, Night Sorrow was not afraid at all. He secretly activated the Phoenix bloodline in his body and increased the speed of the 9 heaven-defying steps. He used speed to fight with Meng Ming. With the help of this graceful movement technique, Night Sorrow quickly gained the upper hand. Although Meng Ming's attack power was very strong, he could not touch Night Sorrow at all. After fighting for a while, he was completely subdued. After being defeated, Meng Ming did not act shamelessly. He looked at Night Sorrow and said, "If you want to leave this small world, you have to obtain the inheritance in the palace. As for what the inheritance is, I'm just a gatekeeper. I don't know. However, it should be related to the Wolf Clan. Can I just enter this palace directly?" Night Sorrow asked after Meng Ming finished speaking. Now that he had a clue, it was much better than running around aimlessly like a headless fly. Meng Ming said, "Let me remind you, there are no rules in the Wolf Clan's world. It all depends on strength." "I understand." Night Sorrow nodded and ignored Meng Ming. He slowly flew into the palace from the northern heaven gate. He flew straight into the palace. After entering the palace, Night Sorrow immediately saw 2 wolf heads with halberds. When the 2 wolfmen saw Night Sorrow, they were startled at first. Then they shouted, "An enemy has invaded." Following the 2 wolf heads' shout, dozens of heavenly sovereigns from the Wolf Clan rushed out of the palace. Good heavens! So many of them have come out at once. How are we going to deal with them? Seeing dozens of heavenly sovereigns from the Wolf Clan rush out of the palace, Desolate Battle was speechless. Although he had a half-step to Supreme State Divine Artifact, he was not in a good state now. It was not that easy to kill heavenly sovereigns. Night Sorrow said calmly, "Since they are here, let's take things as they come. With my speed, it is not difficult to deal with them." Chapter 3270. Are you saying that we should use our speed to shake them off and then kill them one by one? The Desolate War Halberd immediately asked after hearing Night Sorrow's words. There were many werewolves in front of them. If they fought head-on, even if they could win, they would suffer heavy losses. He felt that they could only use their wits and not their strength. He was afraid that Night Sorrow would be impulsive. "Don't worry, I'm not that stupid." After the Desolate War Halberd finished speaking, Night Sorrow knew what he was thinking. He explained and then used the Treastrimsa battle mystic technique. He used the 9 steps of the heaven-defying 9 steps. He attacked the first 2 werewolves with the Qingxian Godly Spear technique. These 2 werewolves were only middle heavenly sovereigns. It was impossible for cultivators of this level to block Night Sorrow's Desolate War Halberd. They were instantly killed. However, the strange thing was that after the 2 werewolves were killed, they immediately turned into nothingness, leaving no trace behind. Night Sorrow immediately asked, "Xiao Wu, did you keep their bodies in the Eternal Divine Tower?" "No, I didn't. In my opinion, these werewolves should be energy bodies or shadows. Once they are killed, they will completely disappear. Defeating them shouldn't give us any benefits. Even if we can't get any benefits, we still have to kill them. Otherwise, we won't be able to get out." Night Sorrow said and then used the 9 steps of the heaven-defying 9 steps to widen the distance and kill the werewolves one by one. Although these werewolves were heavenly sovereigns and had strong combat strength, they were not very intelligent. They were killed by Night Sorrow like flying kites, but they continued to chase after him. After fighting for about 2 hours, Night Sorrow successfully killed all of the werewolves. Congratulations, you have passed the first stage. There are 3 more stages before you get the opportunity. Just as Night Sorrow killed all of the werewolves with the desolate war halberd, a voice suddenly came from the void. Hearing this voice, Night Sorrow asked, "Which 3 stages?" The only response he got was silence. Soon, a whirlpool-like black hole appeared in the originally sealed space. The desolate war halberd said, "This should be the entrance to the next stage, right? Shall we go in now?" "There's no rush. Let me observe first." As he spoke, Night Sorrow activated the sea serpent's eye and carefully observed his surroundings. After confirming that he hadn't found anything, Zhang Xian said, "Let's go in." With the desolate war halberd in hand, he walked straight into the black hole. After passing through the water-like hole, Night Sorrow and the desolation war halberd immediately appeared in a land of fire. This place was full of magma and hollowed-out rocks. The distance between the rocks was very far, and there was fiery red magma flowing below. "What do you want us to do?" The desolate war halberd looked around but didn't see anything. "I'm not sure. If there's no guidance, I'll just fly straight ahead," Yi Shang said as he got up and prepared to fly up. He wanted to quickly investigate what was going on with this small world. But at this moment, he realized that he couldn't fly at all. Immediately he said in surprise, "I don't think I can fly here. Try and see if you can fly." "I can't fly in a place like this?" Hearing this, the desolate war halberd immediately gave it a try. However, just like Night Sorrow, he couldn't fly either. He immediately said helplessly, "It seems that you can't fly in this world. Looking at the situation in front of us, it must be very difficult to pass. But fortunately, we're not afraid of the magma. It should be fine. If I'm not wrong, falling into the magma will probably kill you," Night Sorrow, who used the sea serpent's eye to observe the magma, said. The desolate war halberd immediately asked, "What do you mean?" "Under the magma, there are all ghastly white bones. There's no flesh on each skeleton. I guess it's because the magma can melt flesh. As for divine artifacts, there's none down there. If I fall, I should turn into white bones. If you fall, you'll basically melt directly." After Night Sorrow finished speaking, he continued, "I'll adapt to the gravity here. Let's see if I can jump between rocks. Then I'd better return to your space grotto heaven." The desolate war halberd looked at the magma below and said, whether Night Sorrow's analysis was true or not, he didn't want to take such a risk. "All right. You go in." After hearing the desolate war halberd's words, Night Sorrow immediately stored him in his space grotto heaven. In order to verify his guess, he took out a heavenly supreme level sword from his space artifact and threw it into the magma. After the sword fell into the magma, it immediately melted as if it had never been in. If a heavenly supreme level divine artifact melted just like that, then I won't be any better if I fall in. Although the desolate war halberd, who was stored in his space grotto heaven, was also frightened when he saw the sword melt. It would be great if I could collect some of this magma. While the desolate war halberd was lamenting, Night Sorrow had the idea of collecting some of it. If he could collect some of this grade of magma, it might be useful in turning the tide in future battles. Hearing this, Little Five immediately said, "Let's give it a try. Let's see if we can collect some of it." "Are you confident?" After Little Five finished speaking, Yi Shan sent a voice transmission. He didn't want the Eternal Divine Tower to be damaged because of this attempt. "Of course not. But don't we have a heavenly supreme level divine artifact here? Let's give it a try and we'll know," Little Five said as he took out a palm-sized material and tossed it into the cauldron to examine it. He had taken this piece of material from the horn. Look. After the material from the horn entered, it didn't melt immediately. Since it's dead, we should be able to give it a try. After the material from the horn was thrown in, it didn't melt immediately like a heavenly supreme level divine artifact. Instead, it persisted for a long time. Little Five immediately became confident. He controlled the Eternal Divine Tower and tried to collect it. On his first try, he only collected about a jug of magma. Realizing that with the help of energy, the magma was of no use to him, Little Five immediately collected a large amount. After collecting about a jug, Little Five said, "This is our limit. If we absorb any more, we won't be able to do anything else." "All right. Then let's stop here. Don't bite off more than you can chew." After Night Sorrow finished speaking, he kept the Eternal Divine Tower in his space grotto heaven, and began to get used to the gravity here. After getting used to it, he said something to the Eternal Divine Tower, and began to try jumping. He jumped from one rock to another, and continued to jump forward. This kind of jumping is still very efficient. We should be able to pass this stage easily. Seeing that Night Sorrow completed the jump between rocks easily, the Desolate War Halberd immediately relaxed. Hearing this, Little Seven immediately reminded, "Don't let your guard down, it definitely won't be so simple." Chapter 3271. I think so too. Since it's a test of inheritance, it definitely won't set such a simple checkpoint. If we can pass just by jumping, it's too childish. Xiaowu also analyzed. Night Sorrow thought for a moment and said, "I think so too. However, we'll just have to deal with whatever comes our way." As he spoke, he continued to jump forward. After jumping for about 4 hours, he did not see any other changes. Moreover, it looked the same everywhere. He could not see where the road ahead was. At this moment, the Desolate War Halberd said, "Are we going in a random direction that doesn't conform to the route here? This place looks the same everywhere. There shouldn't be any rules. There shouldn't be any right or wrong. We just have to keep moving forward." Night Sorrow said firmly as he continued to move forward. He was already used to the similar situation. In the next few hours, Night Sorrow continued to move forward. Although he could not see the end, he did not hesitate and continued to jump forward. "Is it okay to move forward aimlessly like this?" The Desolate War Halberd in the Space Hollow said impatiently. His murderous aura was very strong. He would rather choose to fight non-stop than to endure such torture. "It's only been a few hours. Why are you in such a hurry?" Xiaowu immediately scolded after hearing the Desolate War Halberd's words. She felt that he was trying to disturb their morale, and was afraid that he would affect Night Sorrow's mood. "It's okay. Desolate, murderous aura. I don't have much patience." It's normal for him to say something. At this moment, Yishang spoke to calm them down. However, at this moment, he opened the sea serpent's eye and suddenly saw a huge black shadow under the lava. The black shadow was approaching from afar. Upon closer look, Night Sorrow realized that there was a huge lava dreadwolf under the lava. This lava dreadwolf was not smaller than the chaotic heavenly crystal beast. Although it was an upper heavenly sovereign, its aura was not inferior to a half-step to supreme realm. It was very terrifying. Night Sorrow, who saw the lava dreadwolf, smiled and said, "Desolate. Come out." Go out for what? Is there a battle?" The Desolate War Halberd asked. "You're right. We're about to have a fierce battle. Eternal Divine Tower, come out too." Night Sorrow nodded and summoned the Eternal Divine Tower. He looked at the Lava Dreadwolf in the distance and said, "Lava Dreadwolf, I see you, come out. I didn't expect your ice skill to be so powerful. Once I devour you, and your ice skill will be mine." Realizing that Night Sorrow had discovered it, the Lava Dreadwolf immediately stood up from the lava. "Desolate. I can finally vent my frustrations." The Desolate War Halberd, the indomitable Lava Dreadwolf said disdainfully. "In this place I, the Lava Dreadwolf, am the only king. Don't think you're so great just because you're a half-step supreme stage divine artifact. Shameless boasting." Desolate was. Teet, teet? To Desto. At this moment, Yishang was thinking about how to deal with the Lava Dreadwolf before him. After all, he couldn't fly in this place. It would be very difficult for him to fight. Suddenly, Night Sorrow had an idea and asked, "Desolate, can you grow bigger?" "Of course." The Desolate War Halberd replied. "All right. Grow to 1,000 feet long. It's inconvenient for us to move around here. I'll stand still and use you to fight." The Desolate War Halberd was about to attack. Night Sorrow felt that he couldn't dodge the attack by jumping. He had a sudden idea to make the desolate war halberd grow infinitely. The desolate war halberd smiled and said, "That'll do. Let's teach that Alsatian a lesson." Then it grew thicker and longer in front of Night Sorrow's eyes. When the desolate war halberd was about 1,000 feet long, Night Sorrow said, "That's enough." He then extended his arm and palm, and held the desolate war halberd in his hand. However, the difference in size between the two of them was too obvious. It looked like an ant holding a towering ancient tree in its hand. Many people have come here. You're the first one to think of fighting like this. But this is just child's play. Seeing that Night Sorrow had lengthened the desolate war halberd, the desolate war halberd roared and charged towards them. During this process, he continuously stirred up the lava and shot it towards Yi Sorrow's position. Facing the lava, Night Sorrow jumped and dodged. At the same time, he activated the Treistrimsa secret battle technique, Armageddon, Phoenix Bloodline, and Green Phoenix battle armor. He waved the desolate war halberd and slammed it at the desolate war halberd. The attack was so fast that the desolate war halberd couldn't dodge it in time, and was sent flying. It fell into the lava with a loud crash. When the desolate war halberd got up, it roared ferociously, "Desolate war halberd!" Following the desolate war halberd's roar, an even bigger demonic wolf descended from the sky. Although this desolate war halberd was a spiritual body, its aura was very strong and was similar to the desolate war halberd. As soon as it appeared, the nether heavenly wolf howled towards the sky, and then it pounced towards Yi Sorrow. The desolate war halberd didn't fall behind and attacked at the same time. In its opinion, Night Sorrow didn't have the ability to defend against both of their attacks at the same time. At this time, Night Sorrow was facing the attacks of the two giant wolves. He immediately sent a telepathic message to Little Five. Absorb the female cultivator's accumulated attack and attack the two wolves once. Okay. This time, absorb the female cultivator and her divine weapon, and prepare a total of 7 attacks. It's enough to deal with the current situation, Little Five replied. At the same time that Night Sorrow attacked the desolate war halberd, it also attacked the two wolves once. The desolate war halberd, who thought that victory was in his hands, didn't even notice the inconspicuous Eternal Divine Tower. It didn't react at all. It also had a half-step Supreme Class Divine Weapon and couldn't dodge at all. It was hit by the Eternal Divine Tower. Well done. Seeing that the Eternal Divine Tower had sent the two wolves flying, Night Sorrow praised it and shot the desolate war halberd at the desolate war halberd. At the same time, he gathered his divine spirit energy and roared at the desolate war halberd. The two wolves, who were already injured by the Eternal Divine Tower, lost half of their lives after being attacked by such powerful attacks. After that, although he continued to use his techniques, he was still killed by Night Sorrow in the end. After killing the two wolves, a whirlpool-like black hole appeared in the sky above where Night Sorrow was. This black hole was similar to the one he had entered. Without hesitation, he kept the desolate war halberd and the Eternal Divine Tower and jumped into the black hole. When he reappeared, Night Sorrow found himself in an extremely evil small world. Chapter 3272. This small world looked like a tranquil herb field. However, those planted in the herb field were all cultivators. From afar, they were densely packed with the heads of cultivators. From the waist down, they were planted in the soil, looking extremely evil. There are probably tens of thousands of cultivators planted here. Judging from their auras, they should all be heavenly sovereigns. Tens of thousands of heavenly sovereigns planted in the herb field. What is the person who did this plotting? Night Sorrow observed with the sea serpent's eye and found that the people in front of him were all heavenly sovereigns. The scene in front of him was so strange that it made his scalp tingle. Even the knowledgeable Eternal Divine Tower and Desolation War Halberd could not help but feel uncomfortable when they saw the scene in front of them. Xiao speculated, "I think someone is using these heavenly sovereigns to nourish the herb field in front of us. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense. I think someone is using this herb field to nourish these cultivators and cultivate them into monsters with terrifying combat strength." Desolation War Halberd, who had transformed into a human, said slowly. Hearing their words, Yishan nodded and said, It's very likely that it's as you've analyzed. However, no matter what the reason is, we have to pass through this place. This is bad. We can't fly here. Does that mean we have to walk step by step through the herb field in front of us? Desolation Warhalberd tested it, and found that the small world in front of them was the same as the one in the lava. They could not fly. We can't fly indeed. It seems that we have to walk slowly through the herb field. Night Sorrow also tested it. After confirming that they could not fly, he summoned the restriction-breaking hammer and said, "Look and see if there is a formation in front of us." The restriction-breaking hammer was summoned. After observing for a while, the hammer said, "There is no formation. However, I feel that the scene in front of us is a little creepy. These cultivators who have been planted seem to be able to wake up at any time. Yeah, this place was a little too strange. If I had hair, it would definitely stand on end." Desolation Warhalberd agreed. At this moment, Xiaowu suddenly said, "I have an idea that we can try." "Oh, what is it? Tell me." Night Sorrow turned to look at the arm-sized Eternal Divine Tower floating on his shoulder. "Our Eternal Divine Tower can absorb all kinds of corpses and divine weapons, and convert them into energy. Why don't we make a move and absorb them all? What do you think?" Little Five said word by word. Although he had absorbed countless corpses and divine weapons, the current situation was too strange. He was not sure what the consequences would be. Hearing this, Night Sorrow pondered for a moment and said, "Anyway, there's a certain distance between them. How about this? Let's walk first and slowly pass through. If something happens, you can try again. How about it?" Yes, this was good too. We also feel that it's a little inappropriate to absorb all of this. Little Five replied and did not say anything else. Then Night Sorrow asked, "Do you want to enter my space grotto heaven or stay outside? There are no formation patterns here. It's useless for us to stay here. Let's go in." After Night Sorrow finished speaking, the male hammer of the restriction-breaking hammer said, and then they were absorbed into the space grotto heaven. As for the Eternal Divine Tower and the Desolate Warhalberd, they were worried that something would happen to Night Sorrow and stayed outside. Therefore, with the Eternal Divine Tower on his shoulder, and the Desolate Warhalberd in his hand, Night Sorrow braced himself and walked towards the herb field where countless cultivators were planted. If this was not a place that he had to pass through, he would definitely not make such a choice. As for the cultivators who were planted, the distance between each of them was about 30 feet. The gap in the middle was enough for people to walk through. However, when he stepped into the herb field, Night Sorrow had a very uncomfortable feeling. The soil under his feet was very moist. After stepping on it, even his ankles would sink into the soil. Looking at the surrounding cultivators who had sunk up to their waists, the Desolate Warhalberd said worriedly, "Night Sorrow, you have to be careful. Don't sink too deep. If you're planted here like these people, it'll be terrible. I don't want to step into the soil either, but I can't float here at all. I have to walk one step at a time," Night Sorrow said helplessly. As the person involved, he naturally felt his scalp tingle. As he walked, he observed the surrounding cultivators who were planted. At this moment, the Eternal Divine Tower was already standing on Night Sorrow's shoulder. After entering the herb field, they could not float either. Clearly, they were suppressed by something. Not good. Why do I see a cultivator in front opening his eyes and smiling at me? Right then, the Desolate Warhalberd suddenly roared. Where? Hearing that, Night Sorrow asked in surprise. At this moment, he was in a high-intensity state of anxiety. The third one on the left in front. Look, he's still smiling, the Desolate Warhalberd said. Night Sorrow looked in the direction he pointed out. Wasn't that right? Indeed, a cultivator had opened his eyes and was smiling at them. That kind of smile made people's hair stand on end. When Night Sorrow first saw it, he felt that it was a little creepy. But on second thought, he was immediately angered. He snorted coldly and said, "It's just a trick. We don't need to care about it." He felt that no matter where he was, he had to have an invincible heart. Although this place was very creepy and made one's scalp tingle, he had to calm his mind. All right. Hearing Night Sorrow's words, The desolate war halberd immediately responded and looked in another direction. Night Sorrow looked at the cultivator, who was grinning sinisterly again, and said, "You've already been planted here. What's there to laugh about? Go to sleep peacefully. Otherwise, you'll only be in an even worse state than now." After saying that, he continued to walk forward with a cold face. However, after taking a few steps, he realized that his feet, which had sunk into the soil, were grabbed by a pair of cold hands. Finally, can't hold back anymore? Night Sorrow, whose feet were grabbed, snorted coldly and activated the Treastrimsa battle mystic technique. Then he forcefully lifted his left foot. A pale white hand was still grabbing onto his ankle. "Let go." Desolate slash. Night Sorrow saw that the pale hand was still grabbing him. He immediately waved the desolate war halberd and slashed down. The pale hand was instantly cut off. Then Night Sorrow did the same and cut off the other hand with the desolate war halberd. Amidst Desolate's worried words, they continued forward. After walking for a while, Night Sorrow looked at the desolate war halberd and said, "You have a shocking killing intent on your body. Why are you so timid? This doesn't make sense at all." "It's not that I'm timid, but this place is too creepy," the desolate war halberd said helplessly. Then he said in horror, "Oh no! Oh no!" Chapter 3273. What's wrong? What's wrong? Night Sorrow asked with a frown when he heard the desolate war halberd's words. "I didn't mean to disturb your morale. Look, all the cultivators around us have opened their eyes and are looking at us." The desolate war halberd knew that Night Sorrow was a little unhappy with his shouting, so he immediately explained. Hearing this, Yishang looked around. "Isn't that right?" Tens of thousands of cultivators planted in the herb field had opened their eyes and were looking at him. Their gazes were more terrifying than the one before. Being stared at by so many strange cultivators with such strange gazes is truly unbearable. Seeing that many cultivators had opened their eyes, Night Sorrow didn't blame the desolate war halberd. However, he couldn't fly at all, and could only walk forward step by step. He suddenly felt a lot of pressure. Moreover, his footsteps became heavier and heavier as he walked. If it was just an ordinary lower heavenly sovereign walking in the herb field at this time, it would be difficult for him to walk. Damn, these demons and ghosts are laughing at the same time. At this time, the desolate war halberd, who had been paying attention to them, spoke again. Night Sorrow heard this and said, "Don't look at them. Let's not be distracted and continue moving forward." "Okay, I'll block it and stop looking," the desolate war halberd replied, and simply blocked his perception. He didn't smell or ask. "This way, I won't be affected by them," Night Sorrow said, and continued moving forward. At this time Little 8, who didn't have much contact with him, asked, "I'm curious. Are you not affected by these strange things at all?" Haha, compared to Night Sorrow's previous experiences, this is nothing at all. It's not to the extent that he's afraid of everything. Little 7 replied after Little 8 asked. He had been in contact with Night Sorrow the longest, and had heard all of Night Sorrow's past experiences. He knew how determined his mind was. "Something is grabbing my ankle again." At this time, Night Sorrow's expression suddenly froze. Then he exerted force with his left foot and pulled it out of the soil. This time there were 3 pale hands on his foot. As he raised his foot, the arms suddenly grew longer. Desolate halberd slash. Night Sorrow once again used the Desolation War halberd to slash at these arms. However, he discovered that after these arms were cut off, they instantly grew back. What happened? Little 5 asked when he saw the 3 hands on Night Sorrow's leg grow back after being cut off. "I'm not sure either. These hands can regenerate, and it's not easy to deal with them. We can't stay here for too long," Night Sorrow said, and stopped attacking the arms. Instead, he increased his speed and ran forward. As Yishang continued to run in the herb field, more and more arms grabbed onto his legs. It looked like a dense crowd. It's hard to look at. Being pulled by these hands, Night Sorrow had already started to run. He could only walk forward step by step. After running nonstop, they were only 2,000 feet away from the outside of the herb field. "Night Sorrow, are you alright? What can we do?" Seeing that Night Sorrow was having a harder time walking, Little Seven immediately asked with concern. It shouldn't be of much help to me. I think I know how this barrier is set up. As Night Sorrow struggled to walk forward, he said, I should be pulled out of this medicinal field by these cultivators. Otherwise, I'll be planted here forever. Yes, I think so. It's really difficult to deal with them. After Little Seven heard this, she said, We will help you. Then he took out an oval-shaped pill from the Eternal Divine Tower and said, This is the great strength pill that we brewed a few days ago. After consuming it, your strength will increase by 10 times for an hour. However, during this time, the strength of your soul will decrease by 10 times. Right now, what you need the most is strength. Hurry up and consume it. This pill was brewed by the Eternal Divine Tower after absorbing the energy of the horn. However, it wasn't of much help to Night Sorrow's battle, so he didn't mention it. Seeing that Night Sorrow was in such a difficult situation, he immediately took it out. Thank you. This thing is really useful now. After receiving the pill, Night Sorrow didn't hesitate and immediately consumed it. Then he continued to walk forward. After about an hour, with the support of the pill, he successfully walked to a distance of 500 feet away from the medicinal field. However, when he reached here, the pill's effect completely dissipated. Night Sorrow, whose strength had decreased by a lot, immediately felt that he was being controlled. Under the pull of so many hands, he couldn't lift his legs at all. He immediately asked, Little Seven, do you have any more of that pill? No, because it's useless, we brewed one. Little Seven replied helplessly. It's okay. I'll think of a way myself. Night Sorrow felt that he couldn't lift his legs and his body kept sinking. At this moment, he was almost knee-deep. He didn't dare to be careless. He immediately used Armageddon and activated the Phoenix Bloodline and the Green Phoenix Armor, as well as the Dragon of Merit. With their help, Night Sorrow used the Desolation War Halberd as a support and lifted his legs again. After walking for another 300 feet, when there were about 200 feet left, he was restrained again. At this moment, there were countless hands grabbing his legs. Under this situation, his body continued to sink until his knees were completely swallowed. Night Sorrow, let me help you. Under this situation, the Desolation War Halberd suddenly turned into a human and stood at the side pulling Night Sorrow, wanting to pull him up. However, just as the Desolation War Halberd turned into a human, his legs were also grabbed by many hands. He also sank. Desolation. Seeing what happened to the Desolation War Halberd, Night Sorrow was completely anxious. Under this situation, he thought for a moment and immediately used the Supreme Dragon Subduing technique to summon the Kuan Pung. He wanted it to pull them out. However, the Kuan Pung had just appeared when it suddenly fell to the ground. It was absorbed by the medicinal field. It didn't even cause a splash. This place is really terrifying. We won't die here forever. The Desolation War Halberd saw him and Night Sorrow gradually sinking, and immediately said in a panic. However, halfway through, Night Sorrow interrupted him and said, We will successfully leave this place. After saying that, he roared, Eternal Divine Tower, suck all the demons and monsters in the vicinity into it. Originally, he didn't intend to use this move. However, he had already tried his best, but he still couldn't walk out. He didn't care anymore. Okay, let's try. Hearing Night Sorrow's words, Little Five immediately responded. Chapter 3274. What are you trying to do? We will definitely suck them all in. Let them be so arrogant. Let me control the Eternal Divine Tower. Little Seven let out a loud roar and took control of the Eternal God Tower. It immediately began to absorb the cultivators buried in the herb field nearby. Soon, dozens of cultivators nearby were all sucked in. After sucking them in, Little Seven immediately asked, Night Sorrow, how are you? Do you feel better? I feel better, but it's not enough. I can't move. Night Sorrow replied. Just like the Desolate War Halberd, his thighs were already buried, and he looked very dangerous. Then I will continue to absorb. Seeing Night Sorrow's predicament, Little Seven sucked in the nearby cultivators again. However, after sucking in more than 100 cultivators, he realized that the Eternal Divine Tower could no longer absorb any more. He was puzzled. What's going on? This should be the power of the herb field. It's stopping you from sucking in all the cultivators. Night Sorrow, who was in the herb field, felt an incomparably violent power when the eternal divine tower sucked in the cultivators. When this violent power appeared, it immediately restrained all the cultivators. Under such circumstances, Night Sorrow and the desolate war halberd couldn't move at all. Night Sorrow, don't worry. I will immediately refine all the cultivators into energy so that you can walk out. Little Seven said after seeing Night Sorrow's situation. Then he used the eternal divine tower to quickly condense energy for Night Sorrow. He was really afraid that Night Sorrow would completely sink and stay in the herb field forever. Little Seven, thank you. At this moment, Night Sorrow was trying his best. Although he couldn't lift his legs, he was struggling to not let himself sink too fast. However, the desolate war halberd was sinking deeper and deeper, and it was about to reach his waist. Night Sorrow immediately said, "Desolate, quickly turn back into a spear and make it longer. Otherwise you will be trapped here forever." "No, I don't think we should stay here." The Desolation War Halberd thought of the ferocious cultivators in front of it. Then it transformed back into a war halberd. However, it was different from what Night Sorrow had imagined. After the Desolation War Halberd turned back into a war halberd, it could not be lengthened. Instead, it remained in its current state. Night Sorrow, I seem to be bound by something. I can only switch between my human form and my halberd form. I can't do anything else. Moreover, I really can't move. The desolate war halberd said helplessly as he saw himself sinking deeper and deeper. He had been working hard all this time, but unfortunately he simply couldn't do it in terms of strength. "Don't worry, I'll think of something," Night Sorrow said and began to think of a countermeasure. After pondering for a moment, he furrowed his brows and said, "Looks like I can only use the Jia scale bloodline in my body. Jia Lin shouldn't mind this matter, right?" At the same time, he sent a telepathic message to Jia Lin. Naturally, he could not contact Jia Lin. Then he suddenly unleashed his Jia scale bloodline. Once again, he lifted his leg with great difficulty. Slowly, he moved out of the herb field. However, just as Night Sorrow was about to walk out of the herb field, a cultivator in the last row. Suddenly he drilled out of the soil. His entire body climbed on top of him and pulled him back fiercely. It was naturally nothing to be pulled by a cultivator. However, just as Night Sorrow was struggling to break free and immediately leave the herb field, some other cultivators grabbed this male cultivator's thigh and pulled fiercely. Being pulled by these cultivators, Night Sorrow once again fell into a difficult situation. "You guys are really endless." Under such circumstances, Night Sorrow was furious. He said, "Since you guys are endless, then let's have some fun." Then he simply stopped struggling. Instead, he took out his golden heavenly halberd and shot out his fiery demon-subduing spear at these cultivators. Moreover, he added the power of merit into the flames. With the help of the power of merit, the cultivator who was hit immediately retracted his hand. The power of merit seems to be very useful. Seeing that the cultivator who was hit immediately retracted his hand, Little Seven was pleasantly surprised. "I was careless just now. The power of merit is the most effective against these demons and monsters. Originally, I thought that the level of the power of merit was too low and wouldn't be of much use." Then he used the power of merit to surround himself and the desolate war halberd. They continued to move forward in the herb field. Wrapped in the power of merit, Night Sorrow immediately felt that the pressure on his body had decreased by a lot. This feeling made him feel relaxed, and he quickly walked out of the herb field. It's really not easy. The golden heavenly halberd, who was pulled out of the herb field by Night Sorrow, had just left the herb field and stood on solid ground and immediately said with emotion, "It's really all thanks to the power of merit. It's a pity that it hasn't been able to increase the power of merit for a long time." Night Sorrow thanked the power of conjugation. If it wasn't for the power of merit that played a good role, he might have stayed here today. That would be a tragedy. This is what it means to be a good person. Look, that vortex has appeared again. At this time, the desolate war halberd looked up and immediately saw that another vortex had appeared in the void above. Then what are we waiting for? Let's go. Little Seven immediately said when he heard this. He really didn't want to stay in this area for too long. At this time Night Sorrow said, "No hurry. I used too much energy just now. I need to recover. After I massage you, I swallowed an elixir and rested on the spot." When he was almost recovered, he took the Eternal Divine Tower and the Desolate War Halberd and flew into the vortex together. When they appeared again, at first glance, Yishang discovered that they had appeared in a spacious cave. Although this cave was pitch black, Night Sorrow had the sea serpent's eye. After opening it, he immediately saw that there was a half-step to the Supreme Realm Wolf-Headed Man in the depths of the cave. "You can see me, Challenger?" After Night Sorrow opened the sea serpent's eye, the wolf-headed man who had his back facing him suddenly turned around. "I can see you. Who are you?" Night Sorrow looked at the wolf-headed man and thought about how to defeat him if they were to fight. Seeing Night Sorrow's reaction, the wolf-headed man smiled and said, "I didn't stay here to fight with you." "Then why?" the Desolate War Halberd immediately asked. "I'm the guardian. But I'm not guarding here to fight. I'm testing if the challenger is qualified to receive the inheritance of our wolf clan." After saying this, the wolf-headed man looked at Night Sorrow and said, "Don't resist, I'll test your talent. I'm also your final test." "Don't resist and let you test me? Forget it. Night Sorrow, fight." Hearing the wolf-headed man say this, the Desolate War Halberd immediately exploded. Without Night Sorrow's control, it suddenly blasted towards the wolf-headed man. Chapter 3275. You've increased the difficulty of the test. Seeing the Baron War Halberd attack the War Halberd, the half-step Paramount Realm Wolf-Headed Man roared angrily. Then he slapped out with his claws and collided with the War Halberd. The Baron War Halberd was sent flying by the Wolf-Headed Man and flew back into Night Sorrow's hand. He said, "Night Sorrow, as long as we defeat him it'll be fine. Don't believe his nonsense." "Don't worry, I'm not a child." Night Sorrow held the Baron War Halberd in his hand and pointed at the half-step Paramount Realm Wolf-Headed Man. "Come on, let's fight. Since you don't know what's good for you, don't blame me for bullying you." The half-step Paramount Realm Wolf-Headed Man howled into the sky and waved his claws, attacking Night Sorrow. His attack seemed simple, but it was actually extremely fast. Night Sorrow immediately activated the Treastrumsa Battle Mystic technique and other statuses. He also summoned the Eternal Divine Tower. He let the Eternal Divine Tower directly attack the half-step Paramount Realm Wolf-Headed Man. "Got it." Little Five, who responded, immediately controlled the Eternal Divine Tower and attacked the half-step Paramount Realm Wolf-Headed Man. At the same time, Night Sorrow's Baron War Halberd also clashed with the Wolf-Headed Man. The Wolf-Headed Man was fast and his sharp claws were also very special. He was not at a disadvantage when clashing with the Baron War Halberd. Clearly, the Wolf-Headed Man had refined it to half-step Paramount Realm. He was vaguely suppressing Night Sorrow. However, when the Eternal Divine Tower attacked, the half-step Paramount Realm Wolf-Headed Man chose to dodge when he sensed it. However, he did not succeed in dodging and was still struck in the chest by the attack. The Wolf-Headed Man's chest looked as if his stomach had been cut open, and he looked extremely miserable. However, his body recovered very quickly. Clearly, his recovery ability was extremely strong. At this moment, the Wolf-Headed Man was completely enraged and roared, "You're courting death. You're a cultivator and 2 divine weapons. Today, you'll all be destroyed. I'm afraid you don't have the ability to do so." In the face of the Wolf-Headed Man's threat, Night Sorrow scolded and used the 33 Dao characters formula. Then he unleashed a Divine Essence trapping formation, cooperating to confine it. Finally, the evolved version of the Godly Spear suddenly bombarded the Wolf-Headed Man's body. This time, the Wolf-Headed Man's injuries were even more serious than before. However, it didn't take long for him to recover. This recovery ability is simply too abnormal. How are we going to win? Desolation War Halberd grumbled when he saw the wolf head recovering so quickly. Although he has recovered twice in a row, his aura has weakened a lot. As long as we continue to exhaust him, we should be able to defeat him. Night Sorrow, who was observing the werewolf with the sea serpent's eye, discovered some problems. Although the werewolf's recovery ability was very strong, it needed to consume its own energy to recover. After recovering twice in a row, his aura had weakened by almost 20%. From the looks of it, as long as he recovered 2 or 3 more times, his combat strength would basically be no threat. After all, the current him wasn't much stronger than Yi Shan. If his strength continued to decrease, Night Sorrow might be able to fight him without the help of the Eternal Divine Tower and Desolation War Halberd. Yes, that should be the case. Little Five also noticed that the wolf-headed man's condition was no longer as terrifying as when he first appeared. In that case, let's continue to attack. I still have some tricks up my sleeve. Desolation War Halberd became excited when he heard Night Sorrow and Little Five's words. In fact, being trapped in these small worlds made him feel as if he was being restrained and very uncomfortable. He wished he could escape immediately. Oh, you're going to use the War Halberd's unique skill? Hearing this, Yishang immediately asked. Desolation War Halberd replied, "Yes, I'm going to teach you the War Halberd's unique skill. Keep it well." After saying that, he transmitted his voice to Night Sorrow and taught him the key points of his unique skill. This was the War Halberd's unique skill. After Night Sorrow heard it, he instantly understood it. He immediately used this move on the wolf-headed man in front of him. Desolation Endless Slash. After this move was used, it looked like a slash. But in fact, it was thousands of attacks in an instant. The attack speed was quite exaggerated. It was absolutely impossible for Yishang to accomplish this by himself. Wolf King Howl. Facing this Desolation Endless Slash, the wolf-headed man immediately used his unique skill. This move of his was also his trump card. After roaring, it immediately shook heaven and earth. Night Sorrow's countless attacks with Desolation War Halberd were directly shattered. It was very overbearing. How is this possible? Seeing all of his ultimate arts being destroyed, Zhang Xian felt a chill run down his spine. Desolation War Halberd immediately said in disbelief. He never thought that the wolf-headed man could erupt with such a powerful attack. Boom. Just as he was thinking, he and Night Sorrow were both blasted away by the wolf-headed man's move. What a powerful move. I didn't expect this wolf-headed man to be so powerful. Night Sorrow, who slowly stood up from the ground, suddenly felt that his soul was damaged and he felt very uncomfortable. His head hurt. This is nothing. The powerful move is still behind. Wolf King Bloodline. At this moment, the wolf-headed man's aura was visibly growing stronger. When his strength had expanded to a certain extent, he once again attacked Night Sorrow. Not good. Although this attack is not a soul attack, it is definitely stronger than the previous move. Desolation War Halberd felt the terror of the wolf-headed man's attack, and was instantly shocked. The attack just now had damaged Yishang's soul. He was afraid that this move would cause him to die directly. Don't worry. Although his attack is strong, it is not to the extent that it cannot be broken. Feeling Desolation War Halberd's uneasiness, Night Sorrow said this. He then sent a voice transmission to Little Five. Little Five, attack again. At the same time, use 1/3 of the lava you collected on him. Okay. Hearing Night Sorrow's voice transmission, Little Five did not hesitate at all, and used the Eternal Divine Tower to attack again. This attack was about the same as the one he had just attacked. Regarding this, the wolf-headed man did not care too much and continued to attack Night Sorrow. At this moment, the Eternal Divine Tower, which was very close to him, suddenly blasted out the hot lava it had collected. Oh, what is this? Because he was too close to Night Sorrow, the wolf-headed man could not dodge this attack at all. When the hot lava touched his body, he immediately screamed in pain. His ferocious attack was also interrupted because of this. At this moment, Night Sorrow roared, "Desolation War Halberd, cooperate with me to kill him." Then, holding the Desolation War Halberd, he continuously bombarded the wolf-headed man who was being burned by the lava. After dozens of breaths, the arrogant wolf-headed man was completely killed. Very good. You have passed the test and can obtain my inheritance. At this moment, a rather deep voice sounded in the void. Chapter 3276. Who is it? Show yourself quickly. If there's an opportunity, come out directly. Don't hide. When Desolation War Halberd heard this voice, he did not sense where the other party was and immediately asked. Along the way, he and Night Sorrow had experienced battles. They were very vigilant towards this so-called opportunity. Shut up, it's none of your business here. Don't get involved. At this moment, a huge Leaken Phantom appeared in the void. The Leaken Phantom berated Desolation War Halberd and looked at Night Sorrow. What's your name? What faction are you from? My name is Night Sorrow. I don't belong to any faction. I only fight for my family and friends. Of course, if the realm I'm in is threatened, I won't stand idly by. Night Sorrow looked at the Leaken Phantom and was suddenly shocked. This was because this Leaken Phantom had surpassed the level of Half-Step Paramount Realm. Beyond Half-Step Paramount Realm, that was clearly a Paramount Realm expert. He thought for a moment and said according to his heart. He did not hide anything, but he did not say the name of the Eternal Supreme World. At this moment, Desolation War Halberd sent a voice transmission to Night Sorrow. This existence in front of us should have been Paramount Realm when he was alive. It's understandable that he was deliberately mystifying. The inheritance of a Paramount Realm expert is not simple. We must obtain it. I said that it's none of your business here. I told you to be honest. Why didn't you listen? Desolation War Halberd's voice transmission was directly heard by the Leaken Phantom. He suddenly shot out a circle of light and sealed Desolation War Halberd inside. Reflect inside for 100,000 years. In these 100,000 years, you're absolutely safe. But no matter what happens in the world, you can't come out. Senior, my friend has good intentions. Please be magnanimous and remove the seal. Seeing the Leaken Phantom's seal, Night Sorrow confirmed that he could not remove it at all and immediately pleaded. He naturally did not want Desolation War Halberd to be imprisoned for 100,000 years. Although he had just obtained Desolation War Halberd, the two sides had fought side by side many times and had formed a certain tacit understanding. The Leaken Phantom said, "Ignore him for now. Let's continue the topic from before. You don't fight for any faction. This matter is very satisfactory. And then? Can I obtain your inheritance?" Night Sorrow asked straightforwardly. "Haha. I like your straightforward personality." The Leaken Phantom praised and then said, "You've already passed all my tests, so you can naturally receive my inheritance. However, before I give you the inheritance, I want you to promise me one thing." "What do I need to promise you, Senior?" Night Sorrow asked. "Here's the thing. I'm from another realm." All those years ago, he had entered the Foggy region and fought against 3 Lamito-level experts. After that, he had fallen here. The corpse had been turned into a puppet by limitless supremacy. I want you to take back my corpse after you've succeeded in your cultivation, and bury it in my hometown," the Leaken Phantom said slowly. After saying this, he said with some emotion, "I was the first to break through to the extreme realm in my domain. After he became invincible, he went around looking for experts from other realms to fight. Who would have thought that after entering the Foggy area and defeating Supreme Extermination, he would summon 2 more Supreme Exalts? I fought 1 against 3, but I was beaten to the point where I didn't have the slightest bit of temper. Yes, the 3 Supreme Exalts in the Foggy area are indeed terrifying. The most important thing is that they've always been together. The realm I'm in has been destroyed by them," Night Sorrow said with some emotion. At this point, he no longer cared about the fact that the 3 Supreme Exalts came from the Eternal Supreme Realm. So we're all enemies of the 3 Supreme Exalts. That makes things easier. After all, the Leaken Phantom was a Supreme Exalt when he was alive. Naturally, he could tell that Night Sorrow was telling the truth. He pondered for a moment and said, "Then you should also know how terrifying the 3 Supreme Exalts are, right?" "Of course I know. However, I'll definitely face them in the future. I can agree to what you said. However, whether or not I can complete it is not certain. After all, the 3 of them are veteran Supreme Exalts," Night Sorrow said. This was not him being modest. Each of the 3 Supreme Exalts was very terrifying. It would be difficult for him and Yen to be a match for them. If he could help the Supreme Longevity find a suitable body, the 3 of them would be different. "What you said makes sense. I'm afraid it's impossible for you to defeat the 3 supreme exalts with your own strength. How about this? In my hometown, there's a young man with good talent. He has received my inheritance and may already be a supreme exalt. When your strength is about the same, you can go to him and ask him to help you fight together. The Leakin Phantom said and continued. Of course, this is based on the fact that the 3 supreme exalts have not found my hometown. I know. Senior, you can tell me about your hometown. When I reach the supreme realm, I'll make a trip there. Knight Sorrow nodded and said. Suddenly knowing that he might find another ally, he naturally felt good. Good. Since the matter is settled, then prepare to accept my inheritance. However, what I can pass on now is only bloodline talent and some experience. After the Leakin Phantom finished speaking, he stretched out a finger and tapped Knight Sorrow's forehead. He continued, I'm the strongest person in the Leakin clan. Naturally, I'm also the possessor of the strongest bloodline and the king of Lycans. You'll have the strongest recovery ability of our Leakin clan after receiving my bloodline. In future battles, as long as you don't get killed instantly like me, you'll be able to recover quickly. Thank you for your inheritance, Senior. May I know where it is? Knight Sorrow asked doubtfully. My hometown, when you have the strength of the Supreme Realm. You'll know for yourself. Next, I'll tell you everything I know. However, most of the techniques I have are suitable for the Leakin clan. They're not suitable for you. You might not be able to use them. As for formations and so on, you can make use of them. After the Leakin Phantom finished speaking, he began to impart some of his experience to Knight Sorrow. After absorbing these doubts, Knight Sorrow immediately said gratefully, Thank you, Leakin Phantom. I'll bury you in your hometown. Thank you very much. My remnant soul has been imprisoned here for countless years. Now I can finally be free. After the Leakin Phantom said this, he completely disappeared between heaven and earth. Knight Sorrow did not ask him to stay. He knew that the other party had left because his wish had been fulfilled. I didn't expect that there were other realms and other supreme exalts in the world. If at that time, the Leakin Phantom fought with the 2 supreme exalts and 3 supreme exalts of our eternal supreme realm, maybe the 3 supreme exalts would have been destroyed. Xiaowu and the others said regretfully after the Leakin Phantom disappeared. Chapter 3277. This is fate. However, if Leakin Extreme Venerate back then, and met Yin Extreme Venerate or Senior Yin Hung, and start a battle, then our eternal supreme realm might not exist anymore. Knight Sorrow said with a smile. At this moment he suddenly thought of an extremely serious problem. That was the Desolate War Halberd, which was still sealed by energy. He could not speak at all. Seeing the sealed Desolate War Halberd, Knight Sorrow said apologetically, Brother Desolate, I'm sorry. When I have the strength of the Supreme Realm, I will immediately help you remove the seal in front of you. Just now, Leakin Extreme Venerate disappeared too quickly. I haven't had the time to tell you about your matter and the ancient coffin. However, the Desolate War Halberd did not have the ability to respond at all. Knight Sorrow sighed and kept it in his space grotto heaven. Actually, it was not that he was unwilling to speak just now, but Leakin Extreme Venerate's aura was very strong and completely suppressed the rhythm, not giving him a chance to speak of other things. This was a basic ability of Extreme Venerate. Ordinary people could not understand it at all. At this moment, Xiaowu suddenly said, Knight Sorrow, look above the void, a vortex has appeared. This should be the teleportation door that we will use to leave, right? Hearing this, Knight Sorrow immediately raised his head and saw a vortex. He used the sea serpent's eye to observe his surroundings and said, There are no other mechanisms here. We should only be able to enter this vortex. Let's go. After saying that, Knight Sorrow bowed 3 times in the direction where Leakin Extreme Venerate disappeared and flew towards the vortex. After entering the vortex, after a short period of dizziness, Knight Sorrow finally landed successfully and appeared at the entrance of the small temple. Seeing Knight Sorrow appear, the old wolf in a Taoist robe was immediately surprised. You actually came out so quickly? Then you have obtained the inheritance? Yes. I obtained some of Leakin Extreme Venerate's inheritance. Also, how long have I been in there? Hearing this, Night Sorrow used the power of Leekin on him. Seeing Night Sorrow use the power of Leekin Extreme Venerate's bloodline, the wolf-headed man in front of him immediately knelt and said, "Greetings, King. You have been in there for less than 10 breaths. Less than 10 breaths. He had been inside for so long, but it had not even been 10 breaths of time outside. The ability of a Supreme Venerable is indeed extraordinary. After praising him, Night Sorrow continued, "Please rise. You don't have to be like this. I'm not a werewolf. I've only obtained part of his bloodline inheritance." Night Sorrow knew that he had only obtained a portion of the Leekin Supremacy's bloodline. If he had obtained all of it, he would definitely be able to transform into a Leekin. He didn't have much of a sense of belonging to the Leekin clan. Now that he was being called king by the wolf-headed man in front of him, he felt a little awkward. Hearing this, the old wolf kneeling on the ground immediately said, "You have obtained the king's bloodline inheritance. You are the new king of the Leekin clan." "But I'm not a Leekin." He couldn't be the king. "Don't talk about this anymore." Night Sorrow flatly refused. Hearing this, the old wolf in front of him was a little dejected, but he continued, "The wolf Marquis is willing to follow Master. Fight for Master." He didn't continue to mention the word king, but the meaning was similar. Hearing this, Night Sorrow asked, "Are you a Leekin?" "Back then, the Leekin supremacy died in battle. How did you survive?" "I was created by the king here. I didn't come from his hometown," the wolf Marquis immediately explained. Hearing this, Night Sorrow said, "How about this? Then follow me from now on. Anyway, you don't have anywhere to go." "Yes, Master," the wolf Marquis replied, stood up from the ground and asked, "Master, where do you plan to go next?" "We are now in an ancient site in the battlefield of the Slayer of Heaven. For now, we should first look for opportunities. Then we'll talk about other things." Night Sorrow said, "Let's leave the small temple in front of us first." "Yes, Master." After the wolf Marquis finished speaking, he followed behind Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow, who was walking in front, opened the outer door of the small temple. Immediately he saw Jialin, Dancing Woman, and Su Lei waiting. At this moment, the lightning tribulation above Su Lei's head had become extremely terrifying. Seeing the three women, Night Sorrow said apologetically, "I'm sorry this time. The opportunity inside was obtained by me again. Next time, if there's another chance, I'll give it to the three of you." "Why are you saying this? If you let us in, we might have already died. What opportunity did you obtain?" Hearing this, Whirling Woman asked politely, "What's the matter?" "It's a part of the bloodline of a senior. This bloodline is used to recover injuries. With its existence, I can use Armageddon without limit in the future." Night Sorrow explained. The Leekin bloodline had a very strong recovery ability. Even if he used Armageddon, he could quickly recover. This was a great gain for Night Sorrow. Hearing this, Su Lei congratulated. "Then I really have to congratulate you. This is a very big improvement." "Yes. So, I'm still somewhat apologetic to you." Night Sorrow sighed and introduced the wolf Marquis to the three women. After they finished greeting each other, Jialin looked at Night Sorrow and said, "Are we still going to stay in the Temple of Creation? If you want to stay, I'll accompany you to look for opportunities. After all, the seal hasn't been touched yet, so Huang Jie and Ximing shouldn't be here yet." Night Sorrow looked at the three women and saw that they obviously wanted to continue searching, so he said. He guessed that what he had obtained was the greatest opportunity in the Temple of Creation. As for the legendary divine artifact, there was still hope to obtain it, so he didn't refuse. "Okay, then let's hurry. After all, Su Lei can only last for one day." After Dancing Woman finished speaking, she led the way and searched nearby. After about half a day's time, the three women did indeed have some gains, but they didn't obtain any great opportunities. They also didn't find the legendary divine artifact. They did encounter a lot of resurrected corpses. However, these corpses were all afraid of Su Lei's lightning tribulation, so they didn't dare to get close. They really couldn't find the divine artifact, so they returned to the teleportation portal. Standing beside the teleportation portal, Jialin said unwillingly, "Say, there are so many corpses here. Even if Huang Jie and Ximing come, Will they still be in danger? Of course. Although everyone can fight one against many, there are too many heavenly supreme corpses here. A few people definitely won't be able to hold them off. No matter how strong Huang Jie and Si Ming are, they shouldn't be able to kill all the corpses here. Whirling Woman analyzed. Although these corpses didn't have much intelligence, their battle strength was still very strong. Very good. Then I can leave without worry. Hearing Dancing Woman's agreement, Jie Lin smiled and said, this time the people under the two vice presidents didn't get anything, and they were even in danger of losing their lives. I'm very satisfied. Let's go. After coming out of the teleportation portal, Jie Lin looked at Night Sorrow and asked, what are your plans next? Chapter 3278. I'm going to visit a friend in Lutian Academy. Then I'll accompany Sule back to her hometown. I'll let her go home and take a look. As for the rest of the plan, it should be to raise my strength as much as possible, to break through to the supreme state. Night Sorrow did not hide anything from him, and said his plan directly. Since you want to break through to the supreme state, then you must join the middle school. Only by entering the middle school can you get the best resources and a powerful legacy. What do you think? I'll recommend you to Vice Principal Ji Xian, and let him recommend you to the middle school. Jie Lin looked at Night Sorrow and said, oh, do I have the qualifications to enter the middle school? Night Sorrow asked doubtfully. Entering the middle school to raise his strength and find a suitable body for supreme longevity was what Night Sorrow wanted to do the most in Lutian Academy. At this moment, hearing Jie Lin's words, he was instantly interested. Of course you have the qualifications. However, if you're introduced to the middle school by Vice Principal Ji Xian, you'll be targeted by the other two parties. If you're not afraid, with your talent, you should be able to enter at any time. Jie Lin looked at Night Sorrow and said solemnly. She was introduced to the middle school by Vice Principal Ji Xian, and then she was targeted by the other two parties. It made it difficult for her to move, but she persevered. She did not hide this from Night Sorrow. Where there are people, there will be competition. Compared to entering the middle school, being targeted is nothing. Night Sorrow looked at Jie Lin and said, all right, since you said so, then it's easy. Follow me to see Teacher Ji Xian. After Jie Lin and Night Sorrow finished speaking, he looked at Dancing Lady and Su Lei and said, the two of you, don't be disappointed. Although the two of you can't enter the middle school as students, you can enter as Night Devil's followers. Although you're his followers, I believe Night Devil won't treat you badly. The cultivation conditions and resources are 100 times better than outside. Don't worry. Our talents are limited and we won't bite off more than we can chew. If I can follow Brother Yi into the middle courtyard and quickly increase my strength, that would naturally be good. Whirling Woman looked at Jie Lin and said. She knew that although she was a genius, she was definitely not one of the top geniuses in the central courtyard. As for Su Lei, needless to say, he had already submitted to Night Sorrow. He did not care about this matter, and did not say much. At this time, Night Sorrow looked at the two girls and said, don't worry, we're all friends. Whatever resources I can get in the middle court, I'll fight for them for you. Everyone, let's improve together. The middle courtyard was created by the three Supreme Paragons to nurture new Supreme Paragons. As long as you display the corresponding talent, even if you follow the Night Demon in, you will definitely be valued. Good luck. Jie Lin said a few more words to the two girls before continuing. I've already sent a voice transmission to Teacher Ji Xian. We can go over now. Good. Please lead the way. Night Sorrow gestured to Jie Lin to lead the way. The three of them followed behind Jie Lin. Jie Lin brought the three of them and flew for a distance. Suddenly, he sent a voice transmission to Night Sorrow. Night Demon, if you can join the middle courtyard, you can use my Jie Lin bloodline at will and no longer be restricted. This will be beneficial for you to protect yourself. Thank you very much. Jie Lin bloodline was still very powerful. Hearing this, Night Sorrow immediately said gratefully. After thinking for a moment, he said, if you have any trouble in the future, feel free to ask. If I can help, I definitely won't refuse. In the middle courtyard, There are many cultivators stronger than us. There are even many half-step Supreme Realm cultivators. Let's do our best to support each other and grow together. When you enter, you'll understand that it's very difficult to survive there, Jielin said with some emotion. Her talent was not bad, but after entering the middle courtyard, she had been dealt a blow. If not for Vice Principal Ji Xian's protection, she would have been killed long ago. Only with a strong opponent will there be strong motivation. I like this kind of challenge. Night Sorrow understood Jielin's meaning, and the fighting spirit in his heart became infinitely stronger. For you, there will definitely be a lot of challenges because if you join, you will be the weakest person in the history of the middle courtyard. There will definitely be people looking for trouble with you. Jielin looked back at Night Sorrow and shook his head helplessly. She knew that if Night Sorrow entered the middle courtyard with his cultivation, it would be equivalent to a group of people mocking him. However, choosing to hibernate and not enter was a waste of time. Water flows to the low places and people walk to the high places. A low starting point is not a bad thing. If you are targeted, then use your fists to open it. Night Sorrow could imagine what kind of targeting he would encounter, but he was not afraid at all. Since the beginning of his cultivation, he had encountered all kinds of difficulties, but he had never backed down. We're here. Night Demon, follow me in. The two of you wait outside. Not long after, the four of them flew to Vice Principal Ji Xian's location. Jielin looked at the two women apologetically, and brought Night Sorrow in to meet him. When he saw Vice Principal Ji Xian, Jielin bowed and said, "Teacher, this is the genius I told you about. I hope that you can recommend him to the middle courtyard." "Oh, Night Demon, it's you. I remember you. You are the only first-grade genius among this batch of students." Vice Principal Ji Xian raised his eyebrows when he saw Night Sorrow. "Thank you for remembering, Vice Principal. I am Night Demon." Night Sorrow cupped his fists and said. Vice Principal Ji Xian gave him a feeling that he could not see through him. He felt that his aura was several times stronger than the desolate war halberd. He was obviously a super expert, half a step to the Supreme Realm. Haha. Not bad. Not bad at all. You have only entered the academy for a short time, and have already become a Sky Supreme. Coupled with your outstanding talent, you can indeed enter the middle courtyard. At this point, Vice Dean Ji Xian's tone changed. But with your cultivation level, you might encounter a lot of opposition if you join. It might even affect your life. Are you sure you have made your decision? Reporting to Vice Principal, Night Demon has made his decision. I have chosen to enter the middle courtyard. Yishang had already thought about this question, so he answered without hesitation. After all, the purpose of his trip was to increase his strength and find a suitable body for supreme longevity. Joining the middle courtyard was a choice he had to make. Good. Since that is the case, I will recommend you to the middle courtyard. I will let you become the 33rd student in the middle courtyard. Ji Xian laughed and said, "Since you are recommended by me to enter the middle courtyard, don't call me Vice Principal in the future. Just call me Teacher. This is also the Academy's rule." "Thank you for your recommendation, Teacher. Please give me more guidance." Night Sorrow bowed to Ji Xian and said, "Don't worry. A genius like you can only be found by chance. Even the three deans will treat you as an unpolished jade after seeing you." Ji Xian looked at Night Sorrow and nodded in satisfaction. Chapter 3279. Teacher. Can I see the three deans when I enter the middle court? Night Sorrow was surprised when he heard Vice President Ji Xian's words. With his current strength, a half-step to Supreme Realm would definitely not be able to detect him if he disguised himself. However, any one of the three Supremes would immediately sense his identity from the Eternal Supreme World when they saw him. If he was discovered, it would undoubtedly be a disaster. There would definitely be no good outcome. Hearing Night Sorrow's question, Vice President Ji Xian smiled and said, "Well, if you want to see the clones of the three deans, you first have to advance to half-step to Supreme Realm. Otherwise, you don't have such qualifications. Because only by advancing to half-step to Supreme Realm will you have the chance to break through to Supreme Realm. As for the three deans' true bodies, no one can see them." "I see. Then Night Demon will definitely work hard and strive to advance to half-step to Supreme Realm as soon as possible. Yi Shang said and then asked, "That's right, teacher. I heard that the fog area will soon harvest the eternal Supreme World again. When the time comes, will I be able to see the true faces of the three deans?" It's understandable that you students want to see the lineup of the three deans. However, even if the war starts, they might not appear, because the eternal Supreme World is no longer as powerful as it was in the past. It's doubtful that there are Supreme Realms. It shouldn't be enough to make all three deans take action. Vice President Ji Xian thought and said. Then he looked at Night Sorrow and said, "When the time comes, the candidates for the expedition will be our Lu Tian Academy. I will apply for a vanguard position for you." "Thank you, teacher." Hearing that the expedition to the Eternal Supreme World would be led by Lu Tian Academy, Night Sorrow immediately wondered if he should use the power of the fog area to destroy all the heaven-deceiving alien races. After all, the Eternal Supreme World was now occupied by the heaven-deceiving alien races. The remaining realms had all surrendered to them. Even if they were wiped out, there was nothing to feel sorry about. "Alright. Come with me to see the other two vice presidents first. First, I'll apply for an identity in the middle court for you. As for the seat at New Excellence Peak, it will be reserved for you. However, people strive to climb higher, where the resources can't compare to the middle court. It's meaningless whether you go back or not," Vice President Ji Xian said as he prepared to bring Night Sorrow to meet the other two vice presidents. At this moment, Night Sorrow asked, "Oh right, teacher. What kind of rewards would there be for the hidden mission? I've received a hidden quest, but there are still some unfinished quests." "You actually received a hidden mission?" The teacher's suggestion was to complete the hidden mission. "As for what the reward is, I'm not sure, but it definitely won't disappoint you. It might even be a surprise." After Vice President Ji Xian finished speaking, he brought Night Sorrow to meet the other two vice presidents. After receiving their approval, he officially joined the Central Academy. After that, Vice Dean Ji Xian personally led Night Sorrow into the small world where the central courtyard was located. As soon as he entered, Night Sorrow felt an extremely strong aura of darkness. Not only was this aura strong enough to affect one's mind, the energy within it was also very powerful. He couldn't help but say, "This place is indeed extraordinary. The energy here is dozens of times stronger than the outside world. I've only just entered, so it's nothing much. When I've personally opened up a cave for you, you'll know why this place is called the Central Academy." Vice President Ji Xian laughed and led Night Sorrow to a towering platform. "Dean, what are we waiting for here?" After standing on the platform, Night Sorrow immediately asked in confusion. In this Central Academy, he was a complete newbie who didn't know anything. He could only ask about everything. Hearing this question, Vice President Ji Xian said, "Although the Central Academy is a small world, the layout inside is very big. Look at the starry sky in front of you. Every student would occupy a planet and use it as their own cave abode. We're here waiting for the starship personally built by Dan Ji Xian. In a while, we'll take the starship and choose a cave for you." So that's how it is. Night Sorrow stood on the platform and looked at the void with some bright spots in the darkness. He thought to himself, "I wonder if I can advance to the Supreme Realm here." Now that the Eternal Supreme Realm had fallen, and his family and friends had all disappeared, this made him very uncomfortable. He wanted to improve his strength as soon as possible and destroy all the enemies, so that everyone could have peace. When that time came, he could also return to the Divine Realm and meet Sikong Chuyu and the others. "What's wrong? Is something on your mind?" Vice President Ji Xian asked when he saw Night Sorrow in a daze. "Yes, I miss my family far away," Night Sorrow said without hiding anything. "Do you have a cultivation partner?" Ji Xian asked Night Sorrow. "Yes, I have a cultivation partner and a child." Night Sorrow nodded. "Oh, you have a child? This is a great blessing. The stronger you are, the harder it is to have one," Vice President Ji Xian said with some envy. He, the other two vice presidents, and the three supremes all had no children. Hearing this, Night Sorrow smiled and said, "I also had a child when my cultivation level was low. It seems that you also relied on hard work step by step to get to where you are today. It's not easy. Vice President Ji Xian sighed and looked into the distance. The starship is here. Let's go. However, if you take the starship, you will be attacked by the pirate skeletons. This is a danger that you must withstand with your own strength. Otherwise, you won't be able to take the starship back from the cave abode in the future. Okay. Night Demon knows. Night Sorrow responded and followed Vice President Ji Xian onto the starship. After the starship took off, Vice President Ji Xian used his origin force to control its direction. Night Sorrow stood on the spacious deck of the starship and looked into the dark void. After flying for about an hour, Vice President Ji Xian pointed into the distance and said, "The first batch of pirate skeletons is here. You must be careful." Following the direction Vice President Ji Xian pointed, Night Sorrow looked with the sea serpent's eye and saw more than 20 skeletons burning with red flames flying over from afar. These skeletons were basically upper heavenly sovereigns. Not only were they burning with red flames, but their empty eye sockets were also completely red, looking very evil. Good. It's a good opportunity to test the healing ability of the Leakin bloodline. Looking at the skeletons in front of him, Night Sorrow directly activated the destruction of heaven and earth while using the 33 Heavens Battle Mystic technique. Then he took out the golden heavenly halberd and directly shot the divine spear at them. With the enhancement of the destruction of heaven and earth, Night Sorrow's move was very powerful and directly smashed a skeleton 1,000 feet away. At this time, Vice President Ji Xian asked curiously, "If I'm not wrong, you are using the Destruction Divine ability of Extreme Destruction?" Destruction Divine ability? Chapter 3280. According to Night Sorrow's understanding, the move he used was called Armageddon. But now Vice President Ji Xian said such a name, so he was naturally puzzled. Seeing Night Sorrow's puzzled expression, Vice President Ji Xian smiled and said, "It seems that what you learned is the version of Armageddon? That version is incomplete. It's not as powerful as the Destruction Superpower. Of course, the side effects are also lower than the Destruction Superpower. It's not surprising that you can use it." "Yes, teacher. What I learned is indeed called Armageddon," Night Sorrow replied while fighting the pirate skeletons. "Don't worry and fight first. We'll talk about this when we reach your cave abode." Seeing that the pirate skeletons were getting closer, Vice President Ji Xian reminded Night Sorrow without saying anything else. "Okay," Night Sorrow replied, and then started fighting with the pirate skeletons that were attacking him. If an ordinary lower heavenly sovereign encountered so many upper heavenly sovereign pirate skeletons, they would definitely not dare to fight head-on. But Night Sorrow had just obtained the Leakin bloodline, so his recovery ability was simply heaven-defying. With the support of the 33 Heavens secret battle technique in Armageddon, there was nothing to fear. As long as he was not killed instantly, he would recover very quickly. And these pirate skeletons in front of him obviously did not have the ability to kill him instantly. Although they had severely injured Night Sorrow several times, he had recovered every time. Not only is his talent outstanding and can fight above his level, but his recovery ability is also heaven-defying. If he grows up, he will definitely be an extremely powerful seedling. Now, it depends on his temperament. Vice President Ji Xian praised Night Sorrow in his heart as he watched him fight the pirate skeletons bravely. Since the establishment of Killer Heaven Academy, he had been in contact with all kinds of geniuses, but this was the first time he had met someone like Night Sorrow, who had almost no weaknesses and was outstanding in all aspects. As he watched, Night Sorrow completely killed all the pirate skeletons after more than 10 hours of fierce fighting. Not bad. You're only a lower heavenly sovereign, but you killed so many pirate skeletons alone. This is already an excellent display of talent. Let this old man deal with the remaining 2 groups for you. Vice President Ji Xian praised Night Sorrow after he had finished off all the skeletons. In the next few days, he helped Night Sorrow kill the other 2 groups of pirate skeletons, and then traveled the vast void with him. Let Night Sorrow pick any unmarked planet. In the end, Night Sorrow randomly picked one that was pleasing to the eye and asked Vice Dean Ji Xian to help him set up the array formation. While Ji Xian was helping to set up the array formation, Night Sorrow began to build his own palace on the planet. However, the materials he had on him were limited, so he could only make a simple arrangement. At this time, he thought of Yin Yi, Xian Yan, and the others. He planned to bring them all to the planet to deal with the aftermath. When he first landed on this planet, he had already sensed that there were many ferocious beasts and resources here. This kind of arrangement was used to establish a force and allow many heavenly sovereigns to cultivate together. After everything was set up, Night Sorrow immediately expressed his gratitude. "Thank you for your help, teacher. A planet of this level can only be obtained in the middle of the academy. With this, I can establish my own force and peace." Haha, this is something that every genius in the middle of the academy can obtain. The 33 of you will replace the current major forces in the foggy area in the future and completely control the foggy area. Establishing a force in the middle of the academy is only the first step. Vice President Ji Xian looked at Night Sorrow and said slowly. Upon hearing this, Night Sorrow immediately understood that the Lutian Academy had a grand plan. They were preparing to destroy all the major forces in the foggy area and completely control the foggy area under their control. He couldn't help but look at the other party and say, "Teacher, what you mean is, when the time is right, the foggy area will be completely reshuffled. Of course, there's no reason for us to contribute and let others do whatever they want in the foggy area." This matter was decided by the 3 Supreme Venerables after the last battle. Vice President Ji Xian said, then continued, "Let's not talk about this anymore. Just now you used Armageddon. Then, I'll teach you the Armageddon. When others use the Armageddon, they will suffer an extremely strong backlash. You have such a powerful recovery ability. Even if you don't use it casually, it's more or less the same." "Thank you, teacher," Night Sorrow said politely. Armageddon was already very powerful. He naturally looked forward to the Armageddon even more. "You don't have to be so polite. Call me teacher. It's only right for me to teach you some things," Ji Xian said with a smile and began to teach Night Sorrow the Armageddon. Actually, he was doing this to win people's hearts. After all, although he was in a high position, he was not on good terms with the other 2 vice presidents. He had to build his own network. For a genius like Night Sorrow, he naturally spared no effort to take care of him so that he could obtain more returns. After about 2 hours, Night Sorrow completely comprehended the Armageddon. After trying to use it, he realized that using the Armageddon was at least 3 times more powerful than Armageddon. There were even more powerful Armageddon than the 33 Heavens battle secret technique. After thinking about it, Night Sorrow felt that it took him so long to comprehend the 33 Heavens battle secret technique. It was already not bad. After all, it was something he obtained a long time ago. After using it once, Night Sorrow spoke again. Night Sorrow will remember teacher's kindness. "You don't have to be polite with me. If there's anything, come find me directly. You can even find Jielin. If there's nothing else, I'll take my leave first," Vice Principal Ji Xian said before he left. Night Sorrow went to his own planet and checked it out. Then he took a starship and left the central courtyard. He found Jielin and the others and told them about his matter. After hearing Night Sorrow's story, Jielin immediately said, "Do you need my help to find your friend? I heard from them that you have a conflict with the Lin family. If you fight them head-on, you might not be able to contend against them. The Lin family is indeed a problem. If news of me killing Lin Dongqing spreads, they will probably do something to me. However, even a half step to the extreme realm won't be easy to kill me. There shouldn't be any danger on this trip." Night Sorrow thought for a moment and said with certainty, although the Lin family was very strong, only a half step to the extreme realm was a threat to him. It wasn't too difficult to deal with. "That's good. Also, I'll pay attention to Huang Jia, Ming and the others. If they have news, I'll inform you immediately, just in case they find trouble with you." Jielin said one more sentence before he left and returned to the central courtyard. As for Night Sorrow, he brought Dancing Woman and Su Lei, who had successfully passed the tribulation, to find Yin Yi, Xian Yan and the others. Chapter 3281. As for the chaotic heavenly crystal beast and Baimei Sanrin, he still did not summon them. When they arrived at Night Demon Peak, Yishang discovered that the current Night Demon Peak was much larger than before. It looked like it was already quite large. And the Lin clan did not come to cause trouble. Under such circumstances, Night Sorrow did not let Su Lei and Swaying Woman show themselves. He let the two of them get used to being upper heavenly sovereigns in the space grotto heaven. After all, the two of them had just advanced and had not completely stabilized their realms. After seeing Yunyi and Xianyan, Night Sorrow immediately praised, "Brother Yunyi, Brother Xianyan, it's really not easy for you to develop Night Demon Peak to this extent in such a short time. You've worked hard. Haha. Isn't it all thanks to your banner that Night Demon Peak was able to develop smoothly?" Xianyan said with a smile, then pointed at Pan Ye and Pan Yu and said, "Apart from your signboard, the two Pan brothers also played a very important role. We should reward them well." "Is that so? Thank you very much, Brother Pan. Night Demon Peak will not mistreat the two of you." Night Sorrow cupped his fists at Pan Ye and Pan Yu and thanked them. Hearing this, Pan Ye immediately said, "Since we've joined Night Demon Peak, we have to contribute to Night Demon Peak. Eating and waiting for death is not in the character of us brothers. As for the reward, it's best if you have it, but it doesn't matter if you don't. After all, being able to recruit so many brothers is simply a happy thing." "That's right. We brothers like to make friends the most. The reward doesn't matter," Pan Yu also said with a smile. As for the reward, he did not seem to care at all. Hearing this, Night Sorrow laughed and said, "Haha, both of you are forthright, I like it. The reward is a must, I'll arrange it later. We haven't seen each other in a long time, let's have a few drinks and reminisce." He planned to communicate with Yin Yi and Xianyan later, and then decide on the candidates to go to the middle courtyard. The resources there were not ordinary. Those who went had to be loyal. After Night Sorrow finished speaking, Heavenly Sovereign Pan Ye immediately applauded. "Good. Let's have a good drink for today." "Good. Prepare the food and wine, let's drink." At this moment, Yunyi also spoke. Everyone found a good place to sit down in the dining hall. Night Sorrow, who was sitting in the center of the hall, immediately transmitted his voice to Yunyi. "Brother Yunyi, to tell you the truth, I obtained an entire planet from the Slaughterer Academy this time. This planet could accommodate countless heavenly supremes. We can finally establish our own forces. So far, who do you think is trustworthy?" "What? Getting an entire planet is a huge surprise." Hearing this, Yunye's expression didn't change, but he was actually very surprised. After pondering for a moment, he replied via voice transmission, "At present, all the brothers who have joined us have already made an oath to the Heavenly Tao. If they betray us, they will be punished by the Heavenly Tao. They should all be reliable people. If they are all reliable people, we can keep half of it and bring the other half to the Slaughterer Academy. As for those who stayed behind, they would continue to recruit new and reliable troops, continuously bring them to Night Demon Star to raise their strength, to ensure that we continue to grow stronger." Night Sorrow listened to Yunye's voice transmission and said with satisfaction, "Of course, that's not a problem. When the time comes, Xianyan and I will stay here and be in charge of developing the team, while the other will stay on Night Demon Star and lead everyone to raise their strength. You can cultivate in peace and strive to advance to half-step to Supreme Realm as soon as possible." Yunyi continued to transmit his voice. Originally, he thought that since they were establishing their forces, they could only do small things. But now they suddenly had the resources of an entire planet. Immediately, he decided to make it big and strong. "When our forces are strong enough, we will directly attack the Lin family. Let our forces occupy their territory directly. Suppressing these big forces is also the intention of the Slaughterer Academy's higher-ups. We don't have to worry about anything," Night Sorrow said to Yunyi again. Then he looked at everyone and raised his cup. "Since we have all met here, it must be fate. Now let me propose a toast to all of you. Also, I have something to announce. Brother Night Demon, may I make an announcement first?" At this moment, Heavenly Supremacy Pan Ye suddenly stood up and looked at Night Sorrow. Oh, Brother Pan Nye, what do you have to say? Feel free to say it. Night Sorrow looked at Pan Nye in confusion. What I want to announce is this. From today onwards, Night Demon Peak will no longer exist in this world, and the Night Demon will no longer exist. At this moment, Pan Nye shouted coldly and let out a maniacal laugh. Then he transformed into his original appearance and roared, "Kill the Night Demon for me." Yes, Chief. Hearing this, most of the cultivators present stood up and released their murderous aura. You have all made a heavenly oath. Are you going to betray us now? Yun Yi immediately scolded when he saw that everyone had stood up and betrayed him under Pan Yu's lead. Ha! We're all using fake names and fake faces. Under such circumstances, can the oath we made still count? You are all too naive. To be honest, we are all from the Lin family. At this moment Lin Yu, who had changed his name to Pan Yu, also revealed his original appearance. He looked somewhat similar to Lin Dongqing. I didn't expect you to all be from the Lin family. Seeing Lin Nye and Lin Yu reveal their true appearances, Night Sorrow let out a sigh and asked, "Then you should know that I've already killed Lin Dongqing, right? You killed him, and even 10,000 deaths can't absolve you of the blame. Today, we will definitely avenge him. Die, Night Demon." Lin Nye roared and slashed at Night Sorrow with his saber. In the not-so-spacious hall, a shocking saber light slashed out. You have hidden yourselves well. Those who are still willing to serve Night Demon Peak, follow me and fight. Night Sorrow shattered Lin Nye's saber light with a punch and roared. He knew that those who fought side by side with them in this situation were the truly reliable people who were worth nurturing. At this moment, there were almost 100 cultivators present, and almost 70% of them were from the Lin family. They stood up together and looked very imposing. Lin Nye roared, "Who dares to help the Night Demon? The Lin family will destroy their entire family." Under his threat, only 10 people stood on Night Sorrow, Yun Yi, and Xian Yan's side. Seeing that there were only 10 reliable people at this critical moment, Yun Yi immediately said apologetically, "Brother Yi, I'm sorry. I didn't know you well. I caused you to fall into such danger." "It's fine. Having 10 brothers on our side is already a great gain." Night Sorrow looked at the 10 who stood over and said with a smile, "In the future, each of you will be stronger than the top geniuses of the Lin family." Chapter 3282. Shameless Boasting. Aren't you afraid that the wind will cut your tongue? You'd better live through today first. Hearing Night Sorrow's words, Lin Nye immediately roared in disdain and ordered, "Don't leave a single one alive, kill. As for those who are neutral, if they don't help us, kill them all." Yes, kill, kill, kill. After Lin Nye gave the order, many cultivators of the Lin family immediately roared. That earth-shattering aura was still very frightening. Some of those who did not join the Lin family and did not join Night Sorrow's side thought for a while, and basically joined the powerful Lin family's side. As for the 10 people who stood on Night Sorrow's side, none of them went back on their words. Their eyes were very determined. Seeing this, Night Sorrow said with satisfaction, "Everyone, you've done well. Follow me and kill. Later, I'll bring you a big surprise." After saying that, he used the Treastrimsa battle secret technique and the destruction super ability. With the golden heavenly halberd in hand, he rushed toward Lin Nye. At this time, Swaying Lady asked, "The difference in numbers between both sides is huge. Do you need our help?" She and Su Lei both wanted to go out and fight. "Not for now. I should be able to handle it." Night Sorrow observed the situation and found that although there were many people on the other side, most of them were lower heavenly sovereigns. He could fight against 100 opponents with such strength alone. At the same time, he also wanted to use the battle to test the remaining cultivators and see if they were really loyal. "Help me block the Night Devil. He's from the Lutian Academy. His strength is not to be underestimated. Send 15 people to deal with him." Seeing Night Sorrow rushing toward him, Lin Nye and Lin Yu organized people to surround and attack Night Sorrow. But soon, they found that the advantage in numbers could not erase the difference between them. Although they sent more than 10 people to surround and attack Night Sorrow, who had become a heavenly sovereign, was simply too powerful. The speed that he displayed made it impossible for them to see him clearly, let alone attack him. Dozens of breaths time. Night Sorrow had killed 7 people in a row. The golden heavenly halberd is also covered in blood. It looks very murderous. As for the other accidents, the others were led by Yun Yi and Xian Yan to defend together. However, they were still at a disadvantage in terms of numbers. After being attacked for a while, their combined defense was broken. 3 cultivators were seriously injured. Just as they were about to be killed, Night Sorrow suddenly sucked them into the space grotto heaven. To him, the fact that the 3 of them had fought to this extent was already a test of proof, so he did not allow them to participate in the battle. Thank you for saving me, Boss Night Demon. Just as they were about to die, they were saved by Night Sorrow. The 3 cultivators quickly thanked him. We're all brothers, so there's no need for words of thanks. What I said just now is true. In the future, you will definitely surpass the important figures of the Lin clan. Take the pills and rest well. After he finished speaking, he gave the 3 of them a few restorative medicinal pills. Then he started fighting with the Lin family again. After Night Sorrow's outburst, Lin Nya, Lin Yu and the rest, who originally thought that victory was in their grasp, suddenly understood how big the difference in strength was between them and a true genius. In less than 15 minutes, about 20 of the dozens of cultivators were killed. Lin Nya and Lin Yu were seriously injured and basically had no ability to resist. The remaining people, seeing the grim situation before them, immediately had the thought of escaping in their hearts. Someone took the lead to shout the word escape. These people instantly turned into birds and beasts that scattered in all directions, flying towards the periphery of Night Demon Peak. Want to escape? Have you asked the Mountain Gates Array formation? Everyone, including Lin Nya and Lin Yu, began to flee. Yin Yi roared and activated the array formation set up by Night Sorrow. After the 5 Bulls array was activated, it immediately let out a roar that shook one's soul. Under this momentum, Lin Nya, who was already seriously injured, would be directly shaken to death. The others also basically lost the ability to resist. At this moment, on Night Demon Peak, including the 3 people who were sucked into the space grotto heaven by Night Sorrow, only 5 people were injured. None of them died. When the 5 Bulls array suppressed all the cultivators who wanted to escape, Xian Yan ordered, "Don't leave a single one alive. Kill them all." Yes. The few cultivators who chose to stand on Night Demon Peak's side immediately charged into the array formation with an imposing aura. With the help of the 5 Bulls array, they successfully killed Lin Yu and the others. When all the Lin family members were dead, Night Sorrow looked at the crowd and said, "I want to congratulate all of you for making the right choice. Just now, I was about to announce something. Yes, I've already entered the central courtyard of Lu Tian Academy. I've obtained a large amount of resources and power. All of you can follow me to Lu Tian Academy to cultivate." What? We can enter Lu Tian Academy to cultivate? Is this true? Hearing this, a cultivator named Ko Lei asked in disbelief. Of course it's true. And I guarantee that your cultivation environment and resources will be better than most of the students who are chosen by Lu Tian Academy. The moment you join Night Demon Peak, your lives will be completely rewritten. Night Sorrow released his terrifying god territory and spoke at the same time. Hearing this, the cultivators in front of him were so excited that they almost cried. Lu Tian Academy was a place that everyone in the foggy area wanted to enter. However, they were mediocre and did not have the qualifications to be chosen. Now they could save their country and enter it to cultivate. It was impossible for them not to be excited. Everyone, don't be so excited. There will be many surprises in the future if you follow Brother Night Demon. Yin Yi said softly and then continued. In the future, all the Lin family's territories will be taken over by us. And your loyalty will bring you endless resources and power. What? We'll attack the Lin family? But the Lin family is an old family with a very rich heritage. Can we do it? Hearing this, Ko Lei could not help but feel puzzled. He believed Yi Shang's words 100%. However, now that Yin Yi said that he was going to destroy the Lin family, he could not help but feel doubtful. At this moment, Night Sorrow said with certainty, I guarantee that whatever Yun Yi says will come true. What you need to do now is to cultivate hard and increase your strength. Later, I'll send you to Lutian Academy. Come everyone, let's continue drinking. As soon as he finished speaking, Night Sorrow summoned the Eternal Tower. He let them clean up the battlefield. Night Sorrow led everyone to drink to their heart's content. After drinking for a while, Night Sorrow looked at everyone and said, "The Lin family has attacked us several times. It's time for us to strike back." Chapter 3283. Lord Night Devil, we're preparing to make a move on the Lin clan? Aren't we a little too anxious? Hearing Night Sorrow's words, Kolei immediately said. In his view, the people in front of him were still not enough compared to the Lin family. If they directly collided with the Lin clan, they might not gain any advantage. The Lin clan has half-step extreme realm experts holding down the fort and countless heavenly sovereigns. We definitely can't contend with them head-on. But to deal with them, we don't necessarily have to clash head-on. There are many ways to take revenge. Regarding this problem, Xian Yan directly explained. He was clear that Night Sorrow's meaning was definitely to make a move on the Lin clan's various businesses. Hearing this, Night Sorrow nodded and said, "Yes, Brother Xian Yan is right. We don't need to fight head-on with the Lin clan. As long as we severely injure them in a certain aspect, it's fine." So that's how it is. Then there are still many ways to deal with them. Night Sorrow and Xian Yan expressed their attitudes one after another. Kolei immediately understood and said with a smile, "I still have some heard about the Lin clan. Although they are the local tyrants of a region, the area they occupy is too large. They definitely can't be strictly guarded in all aspects. In their territory, there's a very large blackthorn crystal mine. We can make a move on it." "Oh, you know so clearly?" After Kolei finished speaking, Yunyi immediately locked his gaze on him. Yunye's tone was somewhat cold. Kolei immediately explained, "I'm an itinerant cultivator. I've been drifting without a backer. It's very uncomfortable. A few years ago, the Lin family's mine was recruiting people. I went to sign up, but I wasn't selected. But because of this, I have a certain understanding of that mine. So that's how it is. Where is that mine? How big is it? How many cultivators are guarding it? Tell me all about it." Night Sorrow could determine that what Kolei said was not false. He immediately opened his mouth and made him say everything he knew. As Kolei said the contents of that mine word by word, everyone's eyes immediately lit up. It turned out that 40% of the Lin clan's blackthorn crystals came from this mine. Very good. Let's lock onto this mine as our first target. Everyone, get ready. We'll set off immediately. After Night Sorrow finished speaking, he ordered the cultivators to prepare. He set up a few teleportation portals on Night Demon Peak. If Yun Yi and the rest were to be ambushed in the future, they could use the teleportation portals to teleport directly to Lutian Academy. That way, they would not have to fear the Lin clan's revenge. This was the authority he had obtained after entering the central courtyard. After Night Sorrow finished setting up the transmission array, he looked at everyone and said, "This time, let's all attack together. Take as many resources as you can from the Lin family's mine. Bring it back to Lutian Academy, and use it for cultivation." Good. This Lin clan was used to being arrogant. There was really no one who dared to make a move against them. Now that we are snatching their resources, it can be considered as getting rid of evil for the people. Ha ha ha. Yusickle, who was a middle heavenly sovereign, laughed out loud. To these rogue cultivators, the Lin clan was undoubtedly an insufferably large clan. At this moment, they were about to make a move against someone they didn't dare to provoke, and the joy in their hearts was simply indescribable. If we travel together, we'll be too big of a target and attract too much attention. All of you, enter my space paradise. When we reach the mine, I'll let you out. Night Sorrow said, and with everyone's cooperation, he kept everyone into the space paradise. Then he got Kolei to lead the way to the Lin clan's black crystal mine. With the help of the city's transmission array, they arrived at the location of the mine about a month later. From afar, this black crystal mine was like a sect, with a protective array set up around it. Many mines were enveloped in it. It's really a mine that occupies a huge area. Using the sea serpent's eye to observe, Night Sorrow saw that there were countless mines in the array. Each mine towered into the clouds and occupied a huge area. In total, the Black Crystal Mine was about 1,000,000 miles in radius. Yishang stood at the periphery of the mine and sighed in admiration. Then he let everyone out. Seeing that the mine in front of them was surrounded by the array, Kolei immediately asked, "Lord Night Demon, should we rush in directly or think of a way to break the array first and then secretly kill our way in?" "Wait a moment, I'll think of a way to break the array without anyone noticing. Then we'll sneak in together." The location that Night Sorrow chose was very remote. After saying that, he summoned a pair of restriction-breaking hammers. He said, "Try not to alarm the people inside. Don't worry. It's not easy to be discovered when breaking such a large-scale array." The array in front of them occupied about 1,000,000 miles. The male hammer said confidently and broke the array with the female hammer. After about an hour, the male hammer flew to Night Sorrow's side and said, "It's done. Let's go in." Night Sorrow, who had been observing, immediately looked at the hole that the restriction-breaking hammers had opened up in the array and said, "If we want to break the array at all costs, how long will it take?" He asked this because he wanted to consider it thoroughly before taking action. Hearing this question, before the restriction-breaking hammers could answer, Xiaowu said first, "At any time, anywhere, we only need a strike from the Eternal Divine Tower to break the array in front of us." "All right. Let's go." First, we'll control a few cultivators and have them provide us with clues. After saying this, Yishang led everyone into the Black Crystal Quarry. After entering the Black Crystal Mine, Kolei said, "Lord Night Devil, I know where those stewards are gathered. After all, I came in a few years ago. Lead the way." Night Sorrow glanced at Kolei and said, "All right." Kolei nodded and walked at the front, heading towards the tallest mountain peak. When they were 10,000 miles away from the mountain, he said, "Most of the people guarding the Black Crystal Mine are on this mountain. As long as we control them, we should be able to take over the Black Crystal Mine." "All right. Follow me up the mountain," Yishang said and took the lead to walk in front. At this time, Yunyi reminded, "Brother Yi, we've already sneaked into such a hinterland, but the people of the Lin clan didn't notice at all. It's a little strange. Could there be some trap?" "Humph. I think the people of the Lin clan are used to living like princes. No one dares to attack them, so they've slacked off in defense," Xian Yan said with a sneer. "I think Brother Xian Yan's words make sense. They haven't been attacked for many years, so they've slacked off in defense," Yishang said, then reminded him, "I've already seen him. Everyone, prepare for battle." You're tuning in to the Echoes of the Heart YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.